Okay, this is Mazhar, anak angkat Tun M. And today is the 5th of May 2025, almost 6:20 p.m. Okay, the reason sebab buat audio recording ni is because I need to detail everything yang dah berlaku this whole time. What happened to me for the past 18 years and what Mahathir Tun M has been doing to everyone for ages, decades and decades. Okay, to start it off, simple nak cakap macam ni je. He has been planning to do a coup plot, not only here to fool the Malays and the Muslims and PAS, but also he was hoping to use it as a platform to scam the Islamic world. I'm going to start off with that. He's been planning this thing since the 80s, which is why kenapa dia adopt me and my. Now, maybe semua orang akan terkejut benda ni, but actually in secret, he already murtad. He's an atheist. And I will explain semua benda daripada awal. And also, I want to mention to all politicians ke, business people ke, or the family, please do not panic, do not huru-hara, do not anything. Kalau dia cakap apa, says anything lah. Cakap, oh kalau ni you will mampus, blah blah blah, you have to cover up for him, blah blah blah, tak payah dengar. Okay? Dia sekarang ni, dia dah terperangkap. And dia sekarang ni tengah bullshit semua orang untuk cover untuk dia. So, my advice is, kat semua orang, please jangan layan dia. Dia sekarang ni bullshit semua orang. Okay, to everyone else, I akan cerita from the start. Okay, first and foremost, you must understand that dia duk tipu Melayu daripada dulu. Not only about being an atheist, tapi about his entire political career, he has been lying to people. Okay, dia identify diri dia as British Malay. Dia tak anggap diri dia as Malay. Dia memang anggap diri dia as British Malay. Dia bagi tahu. And he's been lying pasal benda ni daripada dulu. Now, when I was growing up, daripada kecil, he will always talk about the British days as the best. Dia akan cakap pasal the British or British number one. Family kita orang daripada kecil, kita orang brought up kena cakap English with the family. Everything is Western. Dia makan pun pakai fork and spoon. Dia pandang hina kalau orang makan pakai tangan. Mami kalau makan pakai tangan, or kita orang makan pakai tangan, dia pandang hina macam macam kampung macam tu. It's not like, macam dia fork and spoon. Dia fulfilling the British macam tu. Okay, he started his whole political career. You kena ingat bapak dia dulu was pengetua of sekolah. And back in those days, it was British Malaya. You had to be pro-British or, whatever, pro-British to be, nak reach a certain level lah, nak naik pangkat and whatnot. So he and his family memang daripada dulu pro-British, right? Then what happened was World War II happened, and then he tried to jump sites and, kiss ass Jepun. And then when the British came back, he was back with pro-British. He was back with pro-British. And that's when I think he went to Singapore first, belajar jadi doktor, and then he came back. And I think it was during this time yang dia join politics, when it was that whole issue pasal Malayan Union. Now, kena ingat zaman tu, there were two types, well not two types, there's more than two types, but basically there were two types of Malays. Yang Malay, yang anti-British, and then you had this British Malays who were British educated, who look up to the British and, anggap diri dorang macam, like superior to the Malays. And also others lah, ada yang British educated, but maybe not pro-British so much, right? And during this time, what happened was that he started his whole political career with this whole ultra Malay punya tiket. So dia duk tipu because at the time it was very unstable. UMNO, he joined UMNO because UMNO was like it was like an umbrella group. Ada banyak different groups in there, more like educated Malays, that were against the British, and then there were the British Malays that were like him, who were pro-British, tapi didn't want to join the Malay punya ni group. So he started dia punya career dengan benda tu, lying. Now if you remember recently, dia baru kantoi pasal Indian blood tu. Dia baru mengaku dia ada spoonful. Actually apa spoonful pula? Nak menipu punya pasal kan. Which is funny sebab the whole time masa kecil growing up, I always hear him tell the story and dia selalu bengang kalau orang question dia punya Malayness. Okay, dia always akan marah, my mother, pure Malay from Kedah daripada dulu, bla bla. I dengar cerita ni daripada dulu. Dia duk cerita pasal dia pure Malay. And only recently, I mean, this past couple years and whatnot, baru I find out about all these things. And I macam terkejut. Kenapa selama ni kau tak pernah bagi tahu pun about all these things? Kenapa? Why you've never said anything about these things? Barulah I understood what he was doing. So, his whole political career, he was with UMNO. And the reason why he went on the Ultra Malay ticket was untuk tipu the Malays lah. So, dia guna this political trick where dia lah paling kuat, kata dia anti-British, anti-whatnot, okay, to get the Malays to support. So, under UMNO. So, dia macam magnet lah. Dia pretend konon-konon dia anti-British and all this. But actually, behind everyone's back, dia lain. Okay, lain perangai. Now, I remember this because masa kecil dulu, dia suka sangat cerita pasal zaman dia doktor dekat Kedah and everything. Tapi satu je benda, and semua benda ni, kena ingat when I was kecil, I tak faham konteks tu. I did not understand yang dia duk guna sarcasm, dia duk hina, duk perli, duk pandang rendah. I didn't understand sebab I budak kecil kan. So, semua benda tu flew over my head. I tak faham. But I remember very clearly, dia cerita macam, all this orang kampung datang dekat klinik dia, lepas tu, diorang ni, macam bodoh, mengarut, lepas tu, all sorts of things dia hina. Right? And he's been saying about all those things sambil dia duk upkan British, zaman British. Dia memang pro-British gila babi. Nanti I'll explain lagi banyak about that. So he's been doing that, duk hina the Malays. Even macam PAS, like I remember growing up, dia selalu hina PAS, and and he talks about Melayu muda lupa, all these things, malas and whatnot. And all those things, at the time I thought, yelah, maybe dia tengah feeling deep. But bila I remember balik and I know konteks sekarang, dia memang bukan feeling deep. Dia memang perli, dia memang hina. Now, that was what he was doing back then. And ingat when during, I think the racial riots ke apa tak, May riots dan apa semua, lepas tu dia tulis buku pasal apa, Malay Dilemma. Semua benda tu, semua proper. He was lying to the Malays the entire time. Dia punya whole thing was to build image, konon-konon dia lah paling ultra Malay, paling pro Malay, paling ni. Tapi behind everyone's back, dia sebenarnya they hang out with all the British Malays, yang jenis yang minum alcohol and whatnot. He considers diri dia one of those people. That's his tribe, that's his people, right? Tapi bila dia jumpa Melayu, dia akan pasang topeng. And I know benda ni sebab bila dengan family, cara kita orang brought up memang Western 100%. Kalau kita orang, like me and Mike, kita orang belajar Melayu pun cakap Melayu because of the stuff. The stuff is from all this from the kampung and whatnot, orang-orang susah. Right? And the reason, you might fikir, baiknya dia ambil orang-orang kampung jadi staff. Tak, dia ambil macam tu sebab dia tahu kalau dia cakap English and whatnot, diorang takkan faham. Kalau dia pakai sarcasm ke apa ke, diorang takkan faham apa benda, what he's talking about, what the family is talking about bila tengah makan kat dining and whatnot. So this is actually the real reason. Right? So, he was lying to the Malays from the get-go. Daripada first time dia masuk politik, dia punya job, sebab dia pro-British tau. He was working with the British at the time. He was very pro-British. His job was only to jual dekat Melayu. Konon-konon dia lah paling Melayu, dia lah paling anti-West, to get the Malays to support him. And he's been doing that all the way lah sampai dia jadi PM. Dia berjaya kelentong everyone. Right? Now, here's how you know. The moment dia jadi PM at the time, and ini pun I think it was like dodge juga because he was like I think DPM before that, and before that he was already in the cabinet and whatnot. And you must understand, masa tu here was Commonwealth, of course, and pro-British. So the British were fighting against the communists, right? So the British and communists, he was in the government at the time, but, as a cabinet member and whatnot, before that. And what happened was during the Cold War, during Vietnam, the British, I think, basically passed over to the US lah, untuk area ni and Southeast Asia and whatnot. So this, I'm sure during the late 60s, maybe early 70s or 70s, he's already been working with the Americans, right? Mula-mula with the British, and then I think still with the British, but more towards Americans at the time. Then when he became PM, in 81, he straight away, after riding off ticket Malay, ultra conservative Malay, right? After riding that whole thing, the first thing, dia jadi PM, in 81, he terus flip everything. He just used it initially to fool the Malays. And how I know this? Sebab when he was first PM1, dia semua keliling dia, dah lah, never mind our upbringing Western semua. Semua keliling dia, semua tiba-tiba all the Chinese, the rich Indians and whatnot. And the Malays, dia pijak, they control everything. Even I think huru-hara, I don't know lah what with the old UMNO, lepas tu sampai dia kena buat UMNO baru and everything. Now, you have to remember, in 81, when he became PM, he was working hand in hand with the Americans. And later on, I will explain yang pasal yang tu. Now, you have to remember, masa tu 79 ke apa, it was the Iranian Revolution, right? Iranian Revolution. He was already in the 80s working with the US. Sampai I think there's a video of him, if you Google Tun M or Mahathir, Dr. Mahathir meets Ronald Reagan dekat White House in the 80s. Dia siap dress up, like very Western, American style. He tried to do the whole American thing, pakai suit semua, lepas tu try to small talk dengan Reagan. And I know dia punya body language. I kenal dia daripada kecil. Memang dah hafal lah dia punya body language. Dia memang duk fangirl gila babi dengan Reagan. And I know this because kita orang pun masa kecil, he's got a picture of him and Reagan and Nancy Reagan dengan Mami. And he used to love talking about it. Dia talk about Reagan macam lah Reagan tu like, paling hebat dekat dunia, paling bagus dan apa semua. And I've only seen him 2 kali je dia perangai macam tu. Tak pernah my whole life, I tengok dia fangirl over anyone. Other than Ronald Reagan, dengan the British, Elizabeth time tu, and the British family. Dia memang fangirl. 2 benda ni dia memang fangirl. Masa dia buat Chogam in the 80s, oh my god, dia punya bangga, dia punya happy, ya Allah. Sampai tak boleh duduk diam. Masa Commonwealth Games, exactly same thing, 98. Sama juga. Tapi time tu I tak faham lagi. I didn't understand things yet. I saw it, tapi benda tu tak register lagi time tu. Okay? Now, I must also say that I've never been political. I tak pernah sokong any political party. I've never anything political party because I don't do politics. Sebab to me daripada kecil, I see all these things politics. I memang tak minat. I tak suka because when I was a kid, all I thought about politics is just a bunch of adults screaming at each other and do jerit each other and call each other names. So I memang okay. I malas nak layan benda ni. So, okay, now, Iranian Revolution. During the Iranian Revolution, of course, the Americans were very worried about the spread of this thing. And the communists, with the Cold War, with Russia at the time and whatnot. So, what he had in mind was actually he had a plan since the 80s. And I know this but I figured out dia punya whole plot because he's been harassing me for the past 18 years. So I thought he wanted to use me as a scapegoat. He was working for the Americans and they were nervous about the rise of this because of the Iranian Revolution. So he came up with a plan. And you have to remember, PAS was quite strong already at the time. Right? He came up, he was scared that PAS akan kena influence by this and then that's it lah, PAS will take over and all these things. So he cooked up a plan to scam PAS, right? And not only pass, but he wanted also to add one more to that, to also scam the Islamic world. So he planned this thing in the 80s. Dua benda. One is the plot. Second of all, Anwar. He needed someone in UMNO under him who was very Islamic leaning and Islamic looking, tapi more moderate Malay. Sebab dia nak lawan dengan PAS time tu, right, in the 80s. So what he did was that he saw Anwar. Anwar was ABIM at the time. So dia ambil Anwar. So I think during that time pun banyak politicians macam Anwar's punya rise was very fast kan. Like Anwar's rise was fast. Okay, I'm not saying Anwar had knew about it ke apa, tak. This is what he does all the time. He does this. Even if you remember, Syed Saddiq pun dia buat benda sama, dia groom. Right? So if you notice, dia ambil Anwar from ABIM, and then he groom Anwar, jadi sampai in the end result, Anwar sama Western macam ni, Western style. And it wasn't only Anwar, the whole cabinet and everything, he was in control. You have to remember, back then he was in control of everything. Okay? Then he adopted me and Mai in 1984, lepas dia dah jadi PM. He was PM in 81. Okay? I did not know my whole life, sampailah I found out about this thing, bila dia start buat benda ni to me. And I found out his whole plot. Sebab I gaduh, korek and all these things. And then I found out, oh, okay. So he adopted me and Mai. Mai is just a decoy. Okay. His whole plan was to use me as a scapegoat. Nak kata konon-kononnya, oh, the West ada plot against him. So he's using the same trick yang dia pakai konon-konon Ultra Malay. Dia trick dia macam tu je. Dia main misdirection. That's his whole entire thing is misdirection. Even dulu selalu dia cakap apa, the West or the Jews control the world by proxies. He was one of the proxies. That's why in the 90s, dia buat, he works, even back then, in the 80s, Petronas, working with all the American oil companies in the 90s was the same thing. He works with the American, military industrial complex and blah, blah, blah. And you have to remember, zaman tu, especially the 70s and 80s, the CIA and the Americans were bagi duit everywhere to any person that would support them against, the Soviets during the Cold War. So I bet he took that opportunity, which is, why he suddenly, in the 70s, in the late 70s and whatnot, and early 80s, tiba-tiba, he became DPM and then suddenly became PM. And then straight away he was pro-America behind the scenes and also in his policies. But policies memang dia pro-America lah. Tapi dia tutup semua cerita because in the 80s and 90s, ingat they control all the media and the internet tak wujud lagi zaman tu. Okay? So he turned Anwar, he groomed Anwar for his plot. What was his plot? First, he wanted to do a two-party system, which dia mengaku last year, 2024. That was his entire thing. The whole thing, because you can ingat, in the 90s, he was fighting against PAS. Masa tu Nick Aziz. Even Nick Aziz knew he was kafir. Surprise. I always thought it was like macam, oh, how rude. Masa saya kecil kan, sedap-sedap panggil orang kafir. Until I found out benda ni semua, oh, rupa-rupanya memang they were right. Dia memang atheist pun. He is actually a kafir. Right? And I will explain later how he groomed me and Mai daripada kecil, how he grooms the family. Ajar minum alcohol, okay, party, okay, daripada kecil kita orang Christmas, everything dekat Genting, every year, and all these things. Macam-macam lagi. So, where was I? So, he controlled everything and he tried to sell like konon-konon his, his anti-West throughout the 80s, but he was always pro-West. And you can ingat, in 85, Memali incident time tu. 85 Memali incident. So he already knew that, PAS was a big problem for him and the Americans, right? Because he was pro-British, pro-American. He kissed ass the Americans. Now, ni satu benda yang nak kena bagi tahu, to all the politicians, kalau dia ugut, konon-konon dia ada international backing, don't believe it. Reagan is dead. He's got no more backing. He only had backing in the 70s, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s because of the Cold War. So back then, diorang akan sponsor all the dictators, all, that's why during I call it the CIA batch of the 70s and 80s. Right? This is what the CIA was doing. Even the Americans mengaku all these things. Like you can, ni semua benda, you can just Google and find out about all these things. How the Americans were like, just anyone, because it was a Cold War, and the Americans just give money to anyone that will support. So he had American backing. That's why no one could kacau him. Then American backing means he gets all sorts of things. He gets intel, he gets equipment, he gets whatever. So dia duk takut-takutkan orang with this like, he's got international backing and whatnot. But that all ended long time ago. Tapi sampai hari ni, I'm sure he's still using that spectre. And I know because dia dah tahu benda ni kantoi, and I'll get to that soon. And recently he came out in the news, dia nak ugut. Dia kata Anwar tak tahu geopolitik dunia, backing up China, and the Americans is saying that, what about US and all these things, and trying to say like, Anwar should remain neutral. Now here's his secret. He has never been neutral. Dia tipu semua orang. His whole life he has always been pro-West. He only uses neutral tu untuk tipu orang. Dia akan cakap dia neutral untuk bullshit the Asia, the Middle East, all the Islamic countries and everything. So it seems like, I'm one of you guys. I support you guys. But dia punya policy and everything from the 90s and whatnot, memang dia pro-West. Okay, that's right. And you tengoklah the KL and everything in the 90s and early 2000s. Memang boom Western to the max. Now, I'm not saying that West automatically means bad. Okay, you kena faham. All I'm saying is dia ni, he's an Anglophile, by the way. I believe that's the term. He's an Anglophile. Okay? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with like macam, industry, commerce and apa. Benda tu tak salah. Okay, even Middle East pun, they do the same thing. They pandai. But this guy, he is a Western-esque kisser. I ingat satu pasal Reagan. Dia memang dia suka. Lagi satu pasal the British ni. Dia memang suka gila babi. It's like two things yang dia tak akan lepaskan is Reagan and the British. Dia sayang gila babi, dia fangirl gila babi. He's like this, and that's why the family semua macam tu. And then anyway, so then in 98 the whole Anwar thing happened. Right? The whole Anwar thing. Now why did it happen? People think that, it was a falling out, it was this, it was that. Actually, semua tu bullshit. Dia nak buat two-party system because in the 90s, dia duk lawan dengan PAS. You have to remember, he couldn't control PAS and DAP. He tried to shut down Harakah, he tried to shut down DAP punya news and apa semua, tak boleh. Everything else dia control. RTM, Angkasa Puri, everything, all the radio, all the TV, Media Prima, all the TV3, everything lah, semua benda. Even Astro later on, semua dia pegang. Right? All the print media, semua dia pegang. Everything dia pegang. Right? But the only thing dia tak boleh control was PAS dengan DAP time tu because they kept fighting back. Right? So and all the opposition parties berpecah-pecah. So dia tahu that if he cannot corral them into one group, then he's in big trouble. Because if another party, because zaman tu I remember, a lot of people dah fed up dengan UMNO baru because of dia lah kan. Because of corruption and all these things. So dia dah tahu UMNO baru was getting weak. And a lot of Malays want away from that. Because dah macam apa benda ni kan. So before that happened, he needed to do something. So he set up this whole two-party system. So I figured this out in 2000, I think 2012, 13, thereabouts. I tak ingat what year it was exactly. Lepas he started this thing on me, harass me, and then I found out rupanya he wanted to use me as a scapegoat. He wanted to control everyone. So what he needed Anwar to be on the other side. Everyone go and kumpul around Anwar, and then now he's got his inside people dekat dalam PKR and all these things, right? Controlling the other side. So now he controls both sides. Because kena ingat dulu ada dua je. Barisan Nasional and then the opposition. That was what he wanted, and that's exactly what happened. Now, aku bukan cakap Anwar knew about it ke or whatever, I don't know. I doubt Anwar knew about it because dia ni licik. He will bullshit the Malays. Okay, honestly UMNO guys, jangan rasa takut, jangan apa. I know how he frames people. I know how nanti dia akan ugut kata this that. Jangan percayalah. Tu dia punya game daripada dulu. Dia akan cucuk semua orang Cakap, kau tahu kalau kau buat ni, orang ni. Tak. He's the dalang. Dia macam bomoh kampung tau. He goes around bullshitting people and whatnot. And then dia cucuk sana, cucuk sini. Dia seorang je yang, feeling macam innocent kat tengah-tengah, hands clean. Why? Because he gets other people to do his dirty business. Cuba fikir, kenapa kalau dia PM, everyone boleh work together. But the moment dia bukan PM, suddenly everyone fights with each other. Because dia buat by design. He's been keeping the Malays down through divide and conquer. And not only the Malays, but all the other races. Except kalau dia PM. Kalau dia PM, suddenly okay. But I remember very clearly throughout the 90s especially, dia kawan, dia kalau member, kalau kau miskin ke apa, dia tak layan tau. Dia only layan yang kaya-kaya je. And all Chinese, Indian, all the billionaires, all the this, that's his thing. Wahal dia pergi cerita kat Melayu, cerita lain. Oh, yang Melayu bawah kena gaduh dengan Cina. Oh, Cina lah jahat lah itu. Hello. Itu Cina bawah. Itu Melayu, all the, yang bawah-bawah and all. Tapi yang atas, dia pegang. Right? And he pijak the Malays. He got UMNO baru, and he got, basically he controls everything at the time, right? SPM. And he was ruthless. Budak-budak zaman sekarang mungkin tak faham. Dia ni dulu, dia tak peduli apa tau. Dia tak suka je, siap engkau kena ISA. In fact, in 93, he even changed the constitution ke, the law ke apa tak, so that he can arrest the sultans. And I know, because daripada kecil, aku dah tengok. Everyone, even Anwar, masa second time dia jadi PM, dia work dengan Anwar. Even Anwar pun takut dengan dia. The sultans, I know, because I tengok bila diorang jumpa dia pun, diorang macam, macam ni. Because why? Dia duk pegang duit semua for the sultans. Kalau sultan don't follow what he says, siap engkau. He will either frame them, ugut them, or don't give money. Kau tak ikut, aku pegang duit. So dia memang kurang ajar to all the Malays, including all the sultans. In fact, dia punya coup plot ni, dia nak frame sultans as well. Okay? So anyway, get back to the 98. So what he did, now, this masuk pasal mata satu. Okay? Apparently, before that, when Anwar was fighting and all this, trying to fight against, against dia konon-konon ni, and then he will say, oh look, masa tu, what's the guy's name? The US president number 2 tu, apa nama dia? Al Gore datang. So he was selling this whole thing, konon-konon. Oh, see, US support Anwar, Anwar US punya barwa, blah blah blah. Right? Okay, cuba ingat balik Before that, he's already working with the US and whatnot, tapi dia cover everything. Okay? Only in the late 2000s, lepas Anwar dah kena lock up, baru you nampak. Ingat Black Hawk Down. Here ni, there was a five country agreement ke apa benda. All is Western ally bloc. You kena ingat, he's always been allies. Right? And his policies, dia buat all his economic policies, Cyberjaya, everything, all that, bring all the investors from US, everything from US, pump money here. Tapi dia cerita dengan orang lain, cerita lain. All that shit about Dawn Raid lah, Sime Darby tu semua propa. Yang konon-konon je Look East policy tu semua bullshit. Why? Because at the time, he wanted to play the middleman and he wanted to convince the ASEAN and everyone, konon that he's one of them and he's looking after them. While at the same time, he's working for the West. Right? Okay. Then, tak payah masuk lah yang BNM Forex scandal tu, that was currency speculation. Dia ada satu perangai kalau dia punya budak-budak orang bawah dia kantoi anything yang dia green light, remember he PM1, he knows everything. Semua polis dia pegang, everything dia pegang. Asal tiba-tiba bila kantoi anything, he will always say, oh, he didn't know anything about it. Ni orang bawah yang buat, I didn't know anything about it. Right? And masa tu was with George Soros Soros was doing it as well and whatnot. And then masa the financial crisis, oh, they anti-Soros, oh, blah, 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 oh, Soros is a Jew. I ingat lagi sebab masa tu I Form 1. Oh, I think I was Form 1. Yeah, I think it was 97. But anyway, I remember everyone said, oh, Jew lah, itulah, Soros is the devil. Dia duk cakap as well. Oh, this the most evilest man in the world, blah, 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 blah. Tapi lepas tu, tiba-tiba, dia best buddies dengan Soros. Tak percaya, look it up. Tiba-tiba dia best buddies dengan Soros. Wah, dia bagi tahu Melayu, dia janji cerita punyalah bukan main. Okay? He memang bullshit all the way. Then, when the 98 thing started, tiba-tiba, Anwar mata lebam. Mata lebam, lepas tu came out statement, Anwar tumbuk diri sendiri, did it to himself. Kan, konon-kononnya, dia kata, he had nothing to do with that. Then tiba-tiba, later on, polis mengaku, actually dia orang yang tumbuk, whatever. So then suddenly, Anwar, dia punya symbol, someone suggested, why don't you use the black eye as a symbol? Dia pun pergilah letak. Tak tahulah, because you have to remember, he's got people inside. His people inside. So macam spies and all these things. To steer things his way. So now he's got Anwar with this thing and whatnot. This is what he was planning from before. What he was planning. So, now Anwar's got this thing and he's got the people inside and Anwar managed to actually corral all the... PKR managed to corral everyone and he berjaya buat his two-party system. Now the thing people forget, and I want to mention about this Mata Satu, his plot was actually to bullshit past the Malays and the whole Islamic world. Nak kata kononnya Anwar mata satu, US mata satu and blah blah, because he knows kalau PAS or Melayu or whatever, shit, benda ni mesti kecoh gila babi kan, mata satu, like macam everyone understand what that means kan. He wanted to sell, and dia bagi tahu dia masa harassment, later I'll come into this, masa harassment, he bagi tahu about mata satu, he wants this mata satu thing there. He put that everywhere. That's actually dia punya symbol, bukan Anwar. Okay, he letak KLCC punya bridge punya fork tu yang holding up is the what do you call it, the compass punya thing yang Freemason tu, and also Surya KLCC is sun symbolism. Surya, matahari. Even the word matahari, one eye. It's an old thing. It's a solar symbolism. Okay? Lagi satu, anak Lee Kim Yew Mines Wonderland. Dia yang namakan matahari. I remember sebab dia punya bangga. When he was born, he used to say, you know who named his son? I named his son. Gave the name matahari. All these things. Lepas tu apa lagi? Cyberjaya. MMU punya logo. PICC. MMU, I ingat lagi dulu, he tried to force me masuk MMU lepas saya habis sekolah. I didn't understand why. Rupa-rupanya now, later on I find out, now I know he was trying to frame me from the start. Now, why he needs me? Because for his plot, dia nak sell, kokonon, whatever I say about him or whatever, because I know semua rahsia dia. Okay? Kalau dia nak kata someone else, people might think, it's just politics and this and that. So, I think it's for extra insurance in case orang lain tahu pasal rahsia dia. So, at least kalau it's me cakap, dia boleh erase semua benda lah, konon. Like macam, anything I say about dia or family, jangan percaya. This is a Western plot against dia. So, dia nak cover, tutup everything all in one shot. Faham? So, he needed to, that's why he adopted me and mine. Mine is just a decoy. Right? So, he put all this mata satu everywhere and that is his trademark. Semua baby dia, semua dia letak. Okay? Even kurang ajar, I remember 2003. 2003, dia buat OIC, first time masa tu PICC. And at the time, I tak tahu anything about mata satu ni dekat PICC or whatever. Masa tu mana ada Google Maps. Tak silap, I don't think there was Google Maps masa tu. I pun tak tahu apa-apa kan. Lepas tu, I remember there's one time tiba-tiba tak pernah kan, he paksa me pergi. Dia cakap, Mas, I want you to come and follow me to the conference, this OIC. I macam, why? Buat apa? And I said, no, I just want you to come, please come. And then I pun dah macam, whatever. Bukan anyone else, just me and him. Lepas tu aku pun pergilah. I don't know why the hell he wants me to go there. I pun masuklah dekat dalam hall tu. Lepas tu diorang getting ready and everything, all the OIC. Lepas tu, I macam, why on earth he wants me to be here? Like, I pun tak tahu kenapa. So, I walked out outside, I saw the driver and all the security kat luar. I macam lepak dengan dorang. Then I decided, you know what, I nak balik. I malas. Then only I figured out, dia buat kurang hajar gila babi. Dia nak hina all the Islamic countries. He is going to bullshit everyone and kata he didn't realise. Semua benda tu tipu. Dia dah memang tahu daripada awal. Okay, think about it. Look at the Mahathirs. Semua Western. Semua Western. Even hari tu, my anak buah pun, orang komplain pasal dia post video pasal Christmas and all these things. Okay, whatever. Orang complain pasal Kak Ina and all these things, dia yang tak bagi mami pakai tudung daripada dulu. I remember this thing. Because I remember daripada dulu and I didn't know why. He always marah mami kalau mami nak pakai tudung. I ingat lagi daripada dulu. And I remember masa I sekolah, like I honestly daripada kecil I love Allah. Even though orang might fikir macam anak kau gay apa pula kau cakap ni. No. Aku daripada aku kecil aku memang sayang Allah. Aku memang I really believe in Allah and sampai aku dekat sekolah menengah, I love to but bukan jenis yang macam nak tunjuk apalah, but I will just quietly go baca Quran, time between Maghrib and Isya or whatever, and all these things. And even after that, I love going to pergi umrah, and all these things. So I memang suka. And he used to marah. I remember like later when I habis sekolah, I simpan janggut pun dia marah. Mami berapa banyak kali dia psycho mami tak boleh pakai tudung. All this shit. And now they're trying to reinvent himself with PAS. Memang dia tengah scam PAS gila babi kan. Belum masuk yang pasal SG4 dengan Rare Earth. But anyway, where was I? So all this Mata Satu stuff. So his whole entire plot, and he was bragging to me about this. Konon-kononnya dia nak sell, konon-kononnya dia Imam Mahdi. Sebab kenapa? Nama dia Mahathir. Konon-kononnya bunyi macam Mahdi. So this was his entire plot. Sebab dia memang kaki kelentong, kaki pusing, kaki apa semua. He wants to fool dekat sini, the Muslims kat sini, and the rest of the Islamic world. Tapi I suspect dorang semua, the rest of the world, Islamic world, semua dah tahu dia baruah US dengan British. Because takkanlah diorang bodoh sangat during the Cold War, everything. Diorang tak, they are not support the West. Diorang would have sided with the Soviets and whatnot, intelligence and all these things. Because, diorang ni, and they would have obviously known that this guy, even though he tries to sell himself as anti-West, he is the most pro-West guy that they ever know of, right? So konon-kononnya, then I remember yang while he was harassing me, nanti I cerita pasal harassment tu. Konon-kononnya, people will believe him and because nama. Then I cakap dengan dia, Mahdi, it's not Mahadi, it's Mahdi. It's an Arab word, perkataan dalam bahasa Arab meaning rightly guided. And he is definitely not rightly guided. He is kaki kelentong and ya Allah kalau nak cerita pasal corruption. Tapi corruption dia kurang ajar. Dia paksa orang. Ingat tak isu batu putih recently? Macam mana he paksa the cabinet. Lepas tu, bila kantoi, cabinet kata, dah tu kau PM, kau pergi paksa. Lepas tu dia kata, kenapa kau ikut? Memanglah diorang kena ikut kalau PM punya orders. So he does the same shit with businessmen, with the UMNO people and everyone. And then he will always takut-takutkan diorang, if they reveal anything about him, he's gonna screw them over. Please, Melayu semua, tak kira siapa, bukan salah korang. If PM's orders, kau nak cakap salah kau macam mana? Kalau dia yang buat, dia yang paksa. All these things. Okay. Then this is the story. How I found out about all these things. Okay. 2007, I was going through trauma. Sekejap I need to pause. Nak pergi toilet sekejap. Okay. In 2007, this thing started. And I was this thing that I found out benda ni berlaku lah. But at the time I didn't know what was going on lah. Sebab time tu tak tahu apa-apa kan. Okay, but before that let me explain macam mana dia groom me and and he does this dengan semua orang. I think Syed Saddiq pun dia buat the same thing. Anwar pun more or less grooming juga, and ni memang kerja dia. He's been doing this. And I figured out he was probably doing it daripada since the 60s and whatever, because you can ingat, by then he was already working as, for a politician, and he knew all the psychological tricks, apa semua. In fact, I tengok recently dia buat podcast apa semua bullshit, semua propaganda, semua psychological manipulation tricks and apa semua. So he has it all pat down. Dia memang tahu semua benda ni in and out because he's been doing it for so long. Dia punya political career, cuba fikir, start daripada bila? Like, he's been doing these things. Now, when I remember first time yang I nampak pelik was when I think I was 4 years old. Me and Mai were like 4 or something like that. Kecil lagi lah, because I ingat lagi time tu dia dukung Mai. So, I don't know, maybe we were 3, 4, I tak ingat. And how it is that, okay, I'm the abang and Mai is the adik. So, I kena jaga Mai lah. So, I'm the abang, so I gotta, do the right thing, look after Mai and whatnot. And Mai used to have this thing where, they throw tantrums and things like that. And then, buat hal and all these things. So, ada sekali tu, we were in front of the house, the old Sri Perdana. By the way, the 2 giant satellite dish dekat Sri Perdana, the old Sri Perdana tu, it was Americans yang pasang benda tu. I remember. And God knows lah, konon-kononnya for TV channels, but you never know, and I don't know what else. Maybe it's just for TV, but, I don't know. Because he was working with the Americans at the time. Anyway, I remember it was the old Sri Perdana, and Mai lied about something. Sebab Mai, I tak tahu lah, dia maybe daripada kecil dia tak suka, because our whole life, like, kena ikut pergi sana, kena sini. Our life was in front of the cameras, in front of the, all these video cameras and whatnot. So I think maybe my, stress ke apa ke, and throwing tantrums and whatnot. But the thing that I remember, my first memory yang I rasa pelik, was that one time Mai tipu depan-depan, said I did something to her. Wah, terang-terang I didn't do anything. Lepas tu I remember him coming over. I thought okay lah, dia like a father would like bagi tahu, Mai like, tak baik buat macam ni, dah, or whatever, right? Or just tell me dah, enough lah, all this. Tapi tak. What he did was, he straight away, he scolded me. Dia nampak benda tu berlaku. He straight away scolded me, cakap, oh jangan kacau, ni Mai and whatnot. I dah macam pelik. But back then I tak register lah all these things. I just thought it was weird. Dia kata, oh ni, and then dia dukung Mai. Dia cepat-cepat dia dukung Mai. Lepas tu Mai buat muka macam macam tu to me, and I remember this very distinctly because dia dukung Mai and dia dukung pakai tangan kanan. So Mai was on the right of him, and then I looked at his face and he was doing the exact same muka. And I couldn't register. And throughout kita orang kecil, he will always reward Mai kalau Mai misbehave. Kalau Mai buat salah, Mai buat apa-apa, Mai akan dapat reward. That's how he does things. That's how he grooms. So literally, Mai buat perangai, okay, nak apa, nak shopping, nak apa, whatever. Mai tipu, okay, yes, support, whatever, haha. So it was like, dia, like me, I was tight with mommy, so like mommy, I look after, must be, disciplined and all these things. But with Mai, macam anything goes, right? I remember that. And I remember growing up as well, he tried, but kita orang dekat rumah most of the time is just us and the staff because they're busy and whatnot. But I remember clearly when we were sekolah rendah one time, he tried this thing with me and Mai, where if someone says something about us, even though we don't know who the person is or what the hell they're talking about, even though benda tu tak berlaku, dia masuk paksa kita orang kata it's true and paksa kita orang kata yang kita orang buat salah, even though we didn't do anything. No discussion, no nothing. Just say you're guilty. That's it. The end. No investigation. Dia tak tanya soalan tau. Which we both thought was so pelik when we were growing up. Macam kenapa? Like tak tanya apa-apa, don't ask anything straight away. Oh, kena accuse, say you're guilty. And then tak sempat nak cakap apa-apa. You cannot even say anything. Must straight away just cakap that, oh, you're guilty. So me and Mai pula jenis yang macam apa hal pula kan, like macam no, we didn't do anything kan. Lepas tu okay, tak jadi. So he had to change dia punya tag. So benda tu, and this is why I kesian my brothers and sisters. Sebab I know from dia duk cerita masa diorang kecil and everything, how he used to be strict disciplinarian, and everything, they cannot question him, don't dare question him, whatever he says, must follow, yada yada. So diorang memang takut. Until to this day, I can see it in their faces. They don't dare question him. Kalau dia buat muka, terus diorang macam okay. Kind of thing. And I've seen him ugut the family. In fact, he's so kurang ajar. Later on, during masa harass ni, dia bagi tahu, dia cakap he doesn't even care about anyone in the family. And I dah tahu dah dia punya perangai. He is actually jenis toddler. Dia toddler, this spoiled brat punya perangai. And I couldn't tell when I was a kid, but oh my God, bila I fikir balik, memang betul lah tu perangai dia. That is his perangai. Then I figured it out. He's been doing that daripada dia kecil. And most likely dengan mak ngah mak teh. Right? Because I think so kurang ajar how he treated Mak Ngah Mateh. Because I ingat last time he used to love having suruh Mak Ngah Mateh duduk kat rumah while he was going around here, there. Okay lah, masa awal-awal tu when we were younger, maybe, okay, berteman and whatnot. But then as he got older, dia treat Mak Ngah Mateh macam ornament. Datang duduk kat rumah, duduk sorang-sorang. Kita orang dah besar dah by that time. So they just staying there sampai diorang merajuk. Diorang nak balik Kedah. Tapi dia tak nak. He wants them there, but the only time dia jumpa is dinner. Once a day. Lepas tu tak cakap apa-apa pun. Dia memang macam tu. Dia tak akan ada macam heart to heart because dia fake. He's been faking it. And I remember one time sampai Mak Teh meluat. Muka dia meluat dengan my dad towards the end of their life. And Mak Teh and me, I think kita orang sama perangai kot. Because Mak Teh is like the older one, and the more like, her character is more like me, like macam discipline, got to do, right things, schema. Like me, I was quite schema and still am until to this day, in a sense. Even though, he hancurkan me, kau. But I'll get back to that. So I remember Mak Teh, and a few times I remember I caught Mak Teh's face and she looked at me and she understood. And dia dah tahu dah that I knew about it. So it's like we both knew that he was just using her. But she couldn't say anything kan. So she just played along, smile. Sampai dia dah malas lah nak layan. I thought it was so kurang ajar and so sad. Mana yang family Kedah ni, I think some of you maybe know about this. But this is the reality. He's like that. Then I figured out, patut lah. He's been scamming them. He was the spoiled brat lah. Anything manipulate dorang, bullshit dorang. They were his safety net. Masa dia kecil. And that perangai dia bawa all the way. In fact, ada one time he even said that his first love in life, and I mati-mati ingat he was going to say mummy, was politics. And I'm like, patut lah. Memang kau daripada kecil, kau kaki kelentung, kaki pusing. And sure enough, until today, banyak kali dah dia kantoi in the news and everything. I can mention everything. Like dia pusing, dia kelentung and everything. So I dah tahu dah karakter dia. Sorry to say, very Mai-ish. But it's not Mai's fault. I tak salahkan Mai. Like I've been looking after Mai. I pening kepala dulu nak jaga Mai because, but then in the end, because, he's not there all the time. So tak nak Mai, understood lah, okay, but I tak masuk campur. And bukan nak kata that I dendam ke daripada kecil. I tak pernah. I always used to think that was just his parenting style because I didn't understand way back when. Only bila benda ni semua start, barulah everything come into focus. Then only I understood his real character. Right? That's why kalau politicians or people akan tahu, kalau dia tak suka, dia buat muka monyok dia, lepas tu macam toddler, macam and then go off. Even on my 40th birthday, he did that. Damn kurang ajar. 40th birthday, dia buat again. Dia nyanyi apa tau? Oh, why was he ever born? To my face, sambil duk geling kepala senyum. Like, kurang ajar. And never mind lah. Dia buat benda ni, dia brag about nak guna me as a scapegoat. Dia hina. First, dia hina my Pakistani genetics. Dia kata inferior. Lepas tu, dia hina my birth mother. Siap cakap, she was probably like a whore that deserves to get raped. Something like that. Nak hina. Sebab time tu ingat dia duk harass me behind everyone's back, and dengan family, he was gaslighting me lah the whole time. So dia kata, no one will ever find out. Anyway, that one nanti I masuk balik yang 2007. So anyway, while we were growing up, all this shit been happening. While we were growing up, all this grooming, yeah. And I remember when we were 18, I think. Before that, masa teenage years. When we were small, he used to, this during the 90s lah, masa sekolah rendah. He used to, every time kita orang kat lunch or dinner, tengah makan dekat table, he will spew out dia punya usual lah propaganda yang dia selalu bagi tahu the Malays. Oh, inilah, itulah, ini. This is where we get all the stories lah, dia duk cerita. But I noticed, masa kita orang grew up, I think kita orang dah form 3, form 4, suddenly dia dah change dia punya story, suddenly dia dah tak kisah nak cover, suddenly the story changes. Lepas tu dah macam dah tak cover-cover dah. And I noticed he does this with the family. He's been grooming everyone in the family to follow dia punya lead and follow dia punya orders. Don't question him and toe his line no matter what. But masa kita orang dah besar sikit, I think all the cracks started sebab maybe like macam tak payah nak cover sangat. Right? He dodgy gila. Even like orang ingat he's like baik, clean. No. I ingat masa naik kuda, we used to go riding every Sunday. Mula-mula there used to be a lot of Malay guys and whatnot, but towards the end, it was all like Chinese businessmen. He used to talk shit about the Malays, you know, and then one time he used to do like sex jokes. Dia memang lah zaman dulu punya style, you know, tak ada porn apa semua, tapi with the boys, you know, suddenly keluar dirty jokes lah. And one time I remember he said something so odd. He laughed. He was like, haha, he told me, he said, what do you need money for when you have power? So itu lagi satu cerita lah. Basically he's been using people and forcing them to pay for all his shit. You know, so that's why tak ada paper trail. Anyway, and they can't do anything. If they don't follow, siap lah, kena. He's PM. Hello, he's the PM that puts you in ISA or screws you over if you don't follow what he says. You know, that's the kind of guy he was. So anyway, yeah, so that was the thing. And when we were 18, we go on vacation all the time. Wah, masa kecil we used to go vacation year, naik yacht lah, pergi Mediterranean all the time. Go to London. London tu dia punya second home. Every time pergi overseas, dia mesti pergi London dia. Dia pergi London, he will have meetings here, meetings there, tak tahu dengan siapa. Later on I find out, oh shit, he's been meeting God knows who, you know, there's this person, that person, all these Western people lah, whatnot kan. Tapi semua tu dia tak tunjuk dekat Melayu kat sini lah. Semua benda tu orang tak tahu lah. Even pasal Israel pun dia kelentong. Yang pasal masa yang Intel shipment tu, mula-mula he tried to cover it up and say it was a forgery. Lepas tu dia kata, oh, it's Anwar punya bullshit. Anwar tengah bullshit. Lasas kantoi dia mengaku. Lepas tu dia tukar cerita, dia kata, oh, terpaksa because Intel, oh, sebenarnya dia tak nak. Nah, bullshit. He one time even told me he went to Israel, wrote to the government of Israel, even though dia dah bagi tahu semua orang kat sini bertahun-tahun, berdekat-dekat, he will never recognize the government of Israel. Dia pergi tulis surat dekat government Israel, minta tolong nak masuk. He wants to go visit. Right? Tapi dia tak bagi tahu orang masa tu. Masa tu dia kena reject ke apa tak, I don't know. But anyway, besides that. So, where was I? So yeah. So when we were 18, kita orang pergi vacation, suddenly my order alcohol. And then he okay kan. Sebab ingat dia dah okay kan my semua benda. Nak minum arak pun dia okay kan in front of my face. And I remember it very distinctly. Okay? Sebab you kena ingat, I budak skema. Up to that point, I was still budak skema. Isap rokok. Tak pernah minum. Tak pernah anything pun tak pernah. Right? My tiba-tiba, oh boleh dapat green light minum alcohol. And I thought was like, oh, boleh pula It's like, oh, we can drink. Okay, fine. You know, and then I thought, okay, you know, since I'm the abang, and I always watch movies pasal, you know, all this like, dululah in the 80s and 90s, you know, the zaman-zaman perang, and then you have the Soviets, you know, drinking each other down with vodka, and then with the Americans, they're fighting to see who can drink the most, siapa yang boleh tahan the most, so that, you know, and siapa yang boleh tahan, they will get the info out from the other person and all these things. So in my head, sebab ingat masa I sekolah rendah, I wanted to be scientist and everything. So I memang budak skema yang if I get myself into anything, bersyarat and proper procedure. So I thought, okay, Mai's doing this, so I might as well figure this shit out. And I pun fikir, bagus juga benda ni kan, because army selalu pakai benda ni. You know, so I thought, okay, mental. So mental kena kuat. So I started lah, okay, fine, minum like that. Mai tak kisah, tak peduli. Sampai I kesian because Mai sampai rabak gila, because yelah, tak ada supervision, lepas tu everything okay, tak ada limits, tak ada anything, never mind. Now, me pula, I macam, okay, I abang, I got to learn this I got to learn this shit, sorry. I got to learn this thing, I got to understand this thing so that I'm in control. So that's, you know, then okay, never mind. Tapi I relax. Then I remember, we used to hang out, dia selalu bawa, I think it was before that even, tahun 2000, Millennium Party dekat KLCC. Oh, kita orang pergi. So this is how start, pergi party, buat, midnight countdown, tapi lepak dekat bar restaurant masa tu, bar restaurant. Because when we go overseas, kita orang pergi Mediterranean lepak dekat, you know, bar restaurant. And he used to say he loves, you know, in fact he came out in an article, it's on the PLF punya ni, about how he wanted Putrajaya to be like, you know, Paris cafe, you know, people sitting and all these things. So semua benda tu dia dah mention lah, benda tu dah keluar dah. Dia sendiri, he wants it like that, you know, that's the kind of thing. And he grew me and Mai macam tu. So by the time kita orang, dia okay kan Mai minum alcohol, and then I decided, okay fine, I'll do it. Kita orang dah biasa dah. all these things, lepak lounge. But dia buat macam mana tau, masa kita orang kat KL, used to go to Bukit Bintang petang-petang on the weekends. Mula-mula it will be like afternoon, lepas tu makin lama petang sikit, then petang sikit nak dekat sunset, then petang, lepas tu lepak lah, then later on come back, lepak. So then we started jinak-jinak kat situ, go out and all these things, sampailah kita orang party, everything semua dia tahu, semua dia okay kan, right? This is dia punya grooming. Okay, so this is where all of these things. In fact, kita orang pernah pergi vacation dekat Italy ke mana, I can't remember. Yeah, it was somewhere in Italy. I can't remember where it was. Siap wine tasting, pergi vineyard, buat wine tasting, everything lah. Dengan dia sekali. Oh yeah, he drinks alcohol by the way. Because I remember yang masa first time mai minum tu, lepas tu tiba-tiba dia pula red wine, lepas tu dia senyum. Red wine, it's okay, it's good for the heart. Ha ha ha, dia gelak. Lepas tu dia minum. So that's why I thought macam okay lah, fine. So that was how, that's the first time I'm like, oh my god, he minum alcohol. And then that finally I click why the rumah dekat Kedah ada hidden bar with a wall. You know macam speakeasy zaman sekarang kan, orang tahu pasal speakeasy and all these things. Macam tu lah konsep dia. So apparently he's been doing all this shit for ages lah kan. Okay, so anyway, that's how he grooms and whatnot. Lagi satu, when I was kecil, and this I only discovered sebab when I found out about dia punya plot. Masa I kecil, I used to drink soya, especially zaman sekolah rendah. Minum before, I can't remember start minum bila, but I used to drink soya like banyak gila soya. And apparently at the time, konon-konon because I'm lactose intolerant, konon. Okay, so, but yang peliknya, Mai tak dapat anything tau, it's just me. I akan dapat berkarton-karton soya. Berkarton-karton. You bayangkan satu karton soya tu bertingkat. I think there's like 10 cartons just for me. And I akan minum benda tu all the time. Sebab I akan duduk tengok TV and everything, and I akan minum. Sampai Mai dengan Neza selalu menyampah. Macam, I makan cereal dengan soya. Everything dengan soya. Tengok TV, minum soya. Then I figure out later on, bila benda ni all started, why? Because dia memang nak guna me as the whole gay MO yang dia suka sangat, to scam everyone. So because he knows, kalau I'm gay whatever, the Malays and past semua mesti takkan percaya cakap I, yang kata kau gay lah, semua benci and everyone. And he even did this to me. He ugut me when he was harassing me in 2000 berapa tah. And then he said he's gonna get people, gangsters to beat me up lah apa semua. And sure enough, tiba-tiba kecoh, anak Tun gay. Itu dia lah behind it. Dia yang ugut aku, tiba-tiba in the same week suddenly that shit happened. Okay, anyway, I'm going back to ni. Masa zaman sekolah. Now, tak cukup he wanted me to be dia punya scapegoat. Tak cukup aku gay, he wanted to ensure that I'm gay, because it's extra points, the scandal. Gay. Yelah, kalau dia kelentong Melayu, pas semua. And diorang kata, tapi kau gay, benci. Siapa nak percaya cakap aku? Mesti semua sokong dia. See, misdirection. Wahal dia okay je dengan gay. Terus Kak Ina, all this, ni daripada dulu dia support. In fact, 2015, dia duk cakap dia gay, anti-gay. 2015, pergi family vacation dekat Langkawi, dengan my partner and everything. At the time, I'm single now. I dah malas all this shit. And dengan my partner pergi family day, pergi Langkawi. Lepas tu pergi Gold Coast. Just me, mommy, daddy, and then me and my partner. Pergi. Invite bukan I nak pergi family. So it's just us. It's just us there. Dia okay. Lepas tu dia duk sembang dekat orang. Daripada dulu duk jaja konon Anwar gay will never work with Anwar bla bla. Last okay je dia work dengan Anwar, setiap keluar statement tak apa. Sebab dia memang tak pernah anti-gay. Dia bullshit semua orang daripada dulu, and dia duk guna isu gay untuk kaburkan mata orang. Sebab dia tahu itulah paling senang nak kelentong Melayu. Cakap gay je, Melayu terus melata. Lepas tu dia scam. That's what he does. Okay? And tak cukup dia nak guna aku as scapegoat. Okay? To scam the Islamic world. Tak cukup. Wants to ensure backup plan dia, frame me as pedophile. Ni lagi kurang ajar. when I was 12 years old, masa tu I tak tahu lagi I was gay. I sort of like suspected maybe because masa I was sekolah rendah, I had this feeling, this experience, and I didn't understand. Bukan sekolah rendah, sorry, tadika. Around 5 years old, macam tu lah, tadika. I think I was like 5, yeah, more or less 5 or 6 macam tu. And I had this inkling like macam I felt different about myself. Tapi I didn't faham lah benda ni kan. So I went out through sekolah rendah, yelah, thinking that, like it's normal guys to be with girls and whatnot, and all these things. So because, that's what people say. And then when I was 12, darjah 6, tiba-tiba, family cakap, your pengetua tadika nak buat trip pergi pergi Perth. Nak pergi Perth, saja dah lama tak pergi, so okay fine, pergilah, I agreed. Masa I kat sana, suddenly they tie me up with this little girl. Masa tu I umur 12, I think she was probably like 6 or 7, I pun tak tahu. And she was this girl, mixed Mak Saleh, muka putih-putih and everything. And I remember the whole trip, dia ni, do you know how kadang-kadang girls, budak perempuan at that age, diorang boleh macam, they crush on guys, lepas tu perangai and all these things. And I ingat time tu, I tengah duduk dalam bus, because I have to sit in the bus with her all the time. Dia buat perangai pelik and all these things, like crushing on me. And I rasa macam, kenapa budak ni kan? And I dah macam rasa awkward and macam pelik. So I macam had to distance myself from her. At the time, of course, I tak tahu apa-apa lah. I didn't know about he was trying to frame me and everything. So I just macam stay away from her. Okay, fine. Then I masuk Form 1, the next year, I nak masuk KYS. I ingat lagi, I apply nak masuk KYS because masa tu sekolah rendah. I thought, I heard about this thing and my masa school tengah announce. So okay lah, I minta this borang dan apa semua. Then I remember I was at home once, suddenly dia cakap, daddy nak jumpa. So I walked in, okay. And then I saw him and Tan Sri Halim Saad. Just the two of them. Tak ada orang lain. Just the two of them. Tak ada staff, tak ada apa. Dua je. And he was hunched up, tengah cakap macam muka macam tengah serious, tengah macam nervous, whatever. And ni daddy lah. And then Tan Sri Halim was like, okay, like macam tu. And then suddenly they saw me, and then daddy terus senyap, froze. And then look at me and said, Mas, come jumpa. I said, this is Tan Sri Halim. He's the guy at school you want to go to. And I'm like, hi, hello, Tan Sri. Lepas tu, he was like, Masa, betul ke you nak masuk? I cakap, yes. Why? I said, okay. Lepas tu, they were like, okay. My dad lah macam, okay. And then, okay lah, I thought, tak ada apa-apa. I just blah. They were still talking, I don't know what. Okay. Masa, I Form 1. And by the way, ni dia nak try frame Tan Sri Halim. I figured out later on. Masa I Form 1, tak ada apa-apa sangat lah. There's some stuff that happened, but, it is something ni. When I was Form 1, I ingat lagi, at first, the first half, I had all my member-members semua duk macam, Mas, gila couple dengan perempuan ni, couple dengan perempuan. So I tried couple dengan perempuan. Sebab time tu I tak tahu lagi I was gay. So I tried. Tapi every time I try couple, mesti takkan menjadi. Sebab I tak rasa, because it's like I always macam ada barrier, which I didn't understand at the time why I was like that. So it never gets past any point. Lebih daripada tu. And then ended up the second half, that's when I knew I was gay. Okay, fine. Masa I Form 2, tiba-tiba, masa I Form 2, there was, suddenly the school officially bagi I college brother untuk jaga. So college brother is like, I'm the senior, I kena settle in budak-budak ni, dia budak stay dalam dorm sama dengan I. So I was living in a dorm, duduk dorm. So my tugas is I kena settle this kid in and everything. So jumpalah masa dia masuk, like talk to the parents, okay, jaga anak auntie, anak uncle, okay fine, everything's fine. So okay lah, tak ada apa-apa pun, I just settle him in, bagi diorang comfortable, talk to each other, talk to the seniors and apa semua. 2 days, 3 days, dah settle. They're all, he and all the others were ni. Now, here's the thing. Only later on I realised, budak ni rupanya also muka putih-putih. Like that. Just like that girl before. Now, also at the same time, there was a girl had a crush on me. Dia pun Form 1 time tu. So, masa I Form 2, so I had this college brother, and then this girl having a crush. And I suspect, maybe he maneuvered things around behind people's back. And I don't think Tan Sri Halim knew about this. Sebab I explain, masa tu dia PM tau. He was still PM at that time and he had control over everything. In fact, I had a special branch in charge of me daripada I Form 1. But I don't even think the special branch knew about this. I think this one, dia buat secret side project there. No one knows about it. So, then, okay lah, this girl pun, I macam, tak layan, macam just be friendly with her, but, slowly push her aside. Yang boy ni, nothing happened. So, the whole year, tak ada apa-apa, just like normal. That no incident, no nothing. Second, masa I masuk Form 3, again dapat college brother. Also putih-putih. Oh yeah, by the way, the first college brother, oddly enough, masa tu I already couple. I was already gay. Okay, but kenapa benda tu berlaku is bukan aku yang nak, benda tu happen to me. It's the other way around. So I malas nak cerita sebab nak buka aib budak-budak kan. So I'm going to try and keep all of this as vague as possible. Dia ni kurang hajar gila, dia pakai budak-budak. He doesn't care. And later on I find out he was spying on all of us dekat KYS time tu. And you have to remember, masa tu ada, mix of people from kampungs, from out of town, from bandar, and of course some politician punya kids and whatnot. And he had the whole KYS, sebab KYS is very isolated and tak ramai. There's like 300 total of us. So very easy for him to control and manipulate people. And plus, he, and I know for a fact, he had direct contact with the pengetua and other people there. That means he won't go through Tan Sri Halim. He akan contact terus directly to the pengetua. So he can do anything and he can get other people on the outskirts to do whatever. Right? The pengetua now dah arwah dah pun. And he used to direct contact dengan ni. So he had to report directly to Mami Daddy. So then when I was yang college brother yang first tu, I fikir balik, oh my god, dia punya karakter, satu dia putih-putih. And dia punya karakter was a bit like the guy that I was with at the time. Tapi time tu I tak register. So tak ada apa-apa lah because I don't give two shits. Bukannya aku ada perasaan apa-apa. I'm not a pedophile or anything. Or give a shit about putih. Like, kena ingat for me daripada I kecil, I've been travelling around the world. Melayu kat sini diorang suka yang mix Mat Saleh lah apa semua kan. People think that this is like paling cantik, paling hot, whatever lah kan. Tapi for me, otak aku tak pernah register macam tu. Sebab daripada kecil, aku dah tengok Mat Saleh out front dah. I go all over the place, London semua apa semua. Benda tu daripada kecil, tak ada pernah perasaan. In fact, I watch TV pun, Hollywood semua, it's nothing to me. So what? But there's people dekat sini, they will like, that's good looking or whatever kan, kalau mix dengan Mat Saleh. Okay, anyway. Then, I noticed perangai dia lebih kurang macam the guy I was with. But not at the time, later on I realised. Then the second year, okay, sama juga, I dapat college brother. Putih-putih juga. But this time, up sikit. Jenis yang mengada, nak melekat. Sikit-sikit datang, nak macam duduk sebelah, nak mengada, nak manja-manja, sampai ada menyampas. Perangai dia macam Mai sikit lah, kalau Mai nak mengada dengan I. Dia jenis adik yang annoying macam tu kan. Suka nak annoy. Sampai ada macam, no. Pergi kacau lah orang lain, kind of thing. And dia lambat sikit lah daripada first one. I think it was like 3 days, 4 days, lepas tu dia dah settle in. So dah, okay. And that whole year, nothing. Tak ada incident. Next, masa I masuk Form 4. Tiba-tiba, okay. I was you have to remember, masa I form, during this time, masa I Form 2 and Form 3, I was actually quite depressed because of my situation dengan my partner masa tu. Because I malas nak cerita sebab buka aib orang kan, because of what happened. So maybe that one later on lah, kalau perlu. Because this is budak-budak kan, and masa tu we were all kids, and I don't want to buka aib orang. But anyway, I was going through depression masa tu. And I remember, I used to cry a lot, menangis about it, and things like that. So I was quite down and depressed at that time. Then I remember masa Form 4 tu, I was walking and macam biasa, I akan jaga, I jenis abang yang akan look after all my juniors. Masa I Form 2, masa I Form 3, I akan jenis yang ramah, talk to the, juniors, guys and girls, sebab kita orang co-ed, semua I akan jaga. The girls, and the boys, I akan friendly dengan dorang. I want them to feel comfortable. Sebab masa I was in form 1, kita orang kena teruk gila. Kita orang macam, dengan senior kena marah, tak boleh friendly with the seniors and all these things, always kena, So bila I dapat jadi abang, I rasa benda tu, I ingat lagi, first time I form 2, I dapat college brother, I was like, why I have a little brother? I dah macam happy gila. And then I rasa daripada time tu, I dah rasa it's like my niat is I akan jaga dorang semua. All the kids, girls and boys. Like my adik-beradik. So that's how I've been. Masa form 2 and form 3, I buat macam tu. That's how I did with them. Tak percaya, you can ask them, betul ke tak. Then masa I form 4, I remember I was depressed. And then I was walking, masa tu budak-budak form 1 baru masuk. And, sekejap. Okay, budak-budak form 1 baru masuk, and then I remember there was this budak. He was coming down the stairs. And I was saying hi to all the other juniors, the girls and the boys walking by. Senyum, hello, welcome, kind of thing like that. And then I remember because dia very theatrical. It was so, and I tak tahu but later on I figured out semua benda tu was orchestrated. Tak tahulah how he orchestrated, but I have my suspicions how. He came down the stairs, and I ingat lagi, dia ada like two people beside him ke, berapa tak, I tak ingat. But there were people, he was in the middle. And he was like, tangan besar, like smiling and talking, and like, you cannot miss him. Mesti kau akan nampak, dia menonjol. Dia memang menonjol gila babi. Dia pergerakan dia semua very theatrical. And I remember that caught my attention, because I'm like, and then I saw him, and he was like this, he was smiling, and then he was like looking left and right, like very caring, macam concerned about the people around him, like looking after him. And I remember time tu, something within me like macam I like move, because I ingat time tu I tengah depressed kan. And time tu I tak faham why, but then later on bila I look back kan, baru I faham, because I was depressed and he reminded me of me. My characters, but that's how I am as when I was in KYS. Before that, I jenis yang buat theater, selalu kacau orang buat happy, look after all the juniors, try to keep them happy and all these things. So I think that sort of like macam like reminded me lah kan. So I thought, like baiknya budak ni kan. And I'm like intrigued lah kan. So I just wanted to say hello to him. And then he came up to me, and then dia terus pandang I senyum, like big wide eyes and happy gila. And I ingat lagi, I terkejut. I macam, wow, like budak ni daripada jauh dah extra gila dah kan. Bila dekat depan muka lagi extra. And then I'm like, I just said hello to him and everything. Tanya nama, and then like, duduk mana, which dorm, and I said, okay, never mind, tak apalah, nanti I'll come and say hi. And then he went off. So then later on I went to say hi, and then like I usually do, like jumpa all the other juniors, get them to talk to each other, so diorang tak malu-malu, so they get along lah kan, macam socialize. And I remember distinctly, I remember baiknya budak ni, because it was like, I remember I was like, wow, like macam this kid is like, he was basically like me, like macam mana I was doing to my juniors, macam itulah dia dengan orang keliling dia. And my perangai like that, even with my batch, I akan macam tu. Kita orang daripada I form 1 macam tu. Okay, then he pula tiba-tiba melekat gila babi, like macam little brother tau, yang jadi melekat nak follow everywhere and all these things. So I remember was like, I thought it was like the most amazing thing ever. Budak ni baik gila and whatnot. And I lepak, like he wanted to lepak with me all the time, sikit-sikit, nampak me daripada jauh, he gets so excited, he'll start waving at me, lepas tu tak sabar nak jumpa lah, wanna hang out with me and this, and he really got to my heart lah kan, sebab I dah anggap dia as adik, and basically dia dah adopt me as his brother, bukan I yang adopt dia tau, dia. So I sort of consider him my unofficial college brother, because dia tiba-tiba budak ni macam adopt me as his brother and melekat kau punya, right? So okay, fine. So I thought nothing of it lah, ingat macam biasa je lah, tapi budak ni jadi macam insist on hanging out with me and everything. Then this is suddenly, I think after like 1 month, tiba-tiba I perasan budak ni makin lama makin pelik perangai dia. Mula-mula I thought he was so extra, lepas tu daripada jauh semua, tak pernah 2 years before that, tak pernah ada junior yang perangai macam tu, or anyone buat macam tu to me. Even the one when I was form 3, my second college brother pun, dia mengada-mengada is just mengada-mengada biasa je. But this budak, every time he one up lagi, dia naik lagi dia punya extra tu. You know, and then suddenly I remember, oh shit, sebab I perasan dia punya perangai. This is exactly the perangai, the same perangai that girl when I was 12 and masa I form 2, the other girl yang crushing on me tu, perangai exactly the same. And I remember I freaked out. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh my god. Like, does this kid have a crush on me? Sebab time tu kita orang dah brothers tau. I dah anggap dia just as a little brother. Tiba-tiba ada macam freak out gila. I macam, what the hell? Like, asal tiba-tiba this kid got a crush on me? And I ada macam, shit. And then I fikir, no. Maybe I'm like overthinking. So I fikir, tak kot. Maybe budak ni memang perangai dia macam tu. Sebab I fikir like, you know, people ada cakap kadang-kadang I overthink. And then I start spiraling. So I macam relax. Tak apa. Maybe he's just perangai macam tu. So, but I was already like, macam rasa pelik lah. Suspicious kan. Macam, apa hal budak ni kan? Bukan suspicious apa. Suspicious like, does he have a crush on me? Is this kid gay? Like, I didn't expect that at all. Benda ni completely unexpected. Right? And then ada macam, I started keeping him away. So, I was doing the same thing yang how I did with the girl before lah kan. Like, try to push him away lah kan. But this thing happened laju gila, okay? Next thing I know, the kids start ejek, oh, dia my jambu. And then I tak faham at that time all these things. I macam, kenapa pula kan? Like, what jambu? Because I remember like, I was thinking, jambu, kenapa buah? I tak faham. And then I was like, then I think I recall balik like, oh, it's something people, and then people say, and then I turn around and I look at this kid, and for the first time, I just realised how he looked like. Sumpah demi Allah, I tak perasan langsung pun sebelum tu. It did not even register in my kepala. Because like I said, daripada kecil, aku dah biasa dah. Mak salih everything, aku tak heran lah. Hello. Aku tak pernah heran benda tu. Daripada aku kecil, I've never ever gave a shit about people's looks. I've never ever subscribed to that. Oh, you know, macam, hot or good looking ke apa. Tak pernah. Sebab I daripada form 1 and even sekolah rendah, I am the old fashion yang believe in love. You fall in love, the end. You don't fall in love with people because of how they look. You fall in love with people. So, kepala otak I tak pernah ada that thing, right? Then, baru I macam, oh shit. So, then I'm like, I cannot unsee this. So, I ingat lagi time tu, I macam, first of all, I macam, tak sedar hati because orang duk ejek. You know, orang macam ejek. So, I felt sebersalah. You know, like, I didn't want him to kena ejek because of me. You know, but then this kid like macam buat bodoh je. You know, he doesn't care. He still wants to hang out with me. But this is where the weird shit started. Suddenly, kita orang selalu lepak-lepak lah, like normal dekat dorm. Kadang-kadang he wants to come over, lepak, sleep over. Not sleep over apa, kita orang like ramai-ramai dekat dorm tu. Because we all duduk dalam dorm. Like katil sebelah-sebelah, like there's a what? 15 of us in a dorm or something like that. I can't remember how many. So kadang-kadang kita orang lepak ramai-ramai, you know, with all the other juniors datang borak-borak. If you ask my juniors dulu, diorang akan tahu. I used to play Diablo 2 pun, diorang semua datang kerumuan, oh jom. Every petang, you know, datang, oh Abang Mazhar. You know, and all these things. Even kalau nak ada dinner ke apa, nak dressing ke, nak tie matching ke, Abang Mazhar. Sikit-sikit, you know, will ask me like, oh okay tak baju ni, okay tak colour ni, you know, or whatever. So I memang macam tu. And then, so this one time kita orang lepak. I remember we were like lepak-lepak, and then okay, time tu we fell asleep. You know, there was a few of us. And I ingat lagi time tu, I duduk tidur. I was like far away from this kid, at least like more than 1 arm's length away from this kid. And there was other kids dekat situ. And I tengah tidur time tu. I tengah tidur. My head was to the left, he was to my right. And then my body is body facing up lah. And my head was to the left. My arms were next to me. And I remember suddenly he did this weird noise which sounded so intentional, because I remember I terjaga because of that. I was falling asleep and I terjaga because of that. And I thought, kenapa dia? Is he trying to call me or something? It didn't bunyi macam mengigau. Tak langsung. Bunyi macam it was purposeful. Sudden, and then I macam, oh tak ada apa-apa kot. Then tiba-tiba, he roll over all the way. Lepas tu tiba-tiba he peluk me. And I was like, what the hell? I ingat time tu, I beku kot. I dah macam, what the hell? I dah macam, ya Allah, dah lah, aku tengah pening budak ni, dia crush dengan aku ke tak? Aku dah macam 50-50 at the time. But when this shit happened, I was like, oh shit. Dah jadi 70-30. Lepas tu, here's the dodge part. Tiba-tiba, I dengar someone batuk kat tangga and then start walking up the stairs. The moment that happened, budak ni terus roll over went back there. And then this warden ke siapa tahu walk and then like macam berjalan jalan bersahaja. And I was like, what the fuck? Masa tu, I didn't know lah kan. I just thought it was weird. But my mind was racing. I dah macam, fuck, this budak got a crush on me, shit. And I have to do something. This cannot continue. So I was, freaking out later. I'm trying to fikir macam mana lah ni. I need to talk to this kid. I kena bagi tahu dia, like, I had to draw the lines. Sebab dia budak kot. Like, hello. Like, ew, he's a kid. He's a budak. I think he was just 12 at the time. Belum masuk 13 lagi. I'm like, what the hell? Dah lah, aku ingat adik aku tiba-tiba, do a 180, flip the script. And then I was like trying to figure out like how am I going to confront him and all these things. Now I don't remember which one happened first. I confronted him or something else happened. But anyway, I'm just gonna say, I think it was I confronted him first. I bagi tahu dia, I think I confronted him first. I'm sorry, I tak ingat because this happened such a long time ago. And, it was such a whirlwind. Benda tu jadi so fast. Benda ni happened like, within the first month or two of me meeting him. I remember I wanted to tell him that, this cannot, we cannot macam ni and, like, kena behave lah. And plus masa tu, I was with my partner and I'm monogamous and he's a little kid anyway. Like macam, hello budak, like apa ni? Kind of thing, like macam agak-agak lah kan. Kau dah lah budak kecil. So I thought I was gonna like tell him, like no, like as nicely as I could. But at the same time, I dilemma lah sebab I don't want to break his heart kan. So I dah macam dah serba salah dah. Then I remember that one time he was walking by, dia tengah senyum jalan and I thought, why is this kid just smiling around? Budak baik. He's such a nice kid actually. And I remember I called him over and he said, I asked him nak pergi mana, gimana? Dia cakap, nak jumpa member je. I cakap, okay, boleh cakap sekejap tak? And dia cakap, okay. And then I was like, okay. Then I opened, first thing I told him was that I'm gay. Because I wanted to open with that lah kan. Because I thought that kalau if I bagi tahu dia, if he's disgusted, it's okay. Just go off. If he's not gay, right? Otherwise, if he is, then I got to draw the line. So I told him, but here's the weird thing. Dia langsung tak ada reaction. When I told him that I was gay, dia terkejut pun tak, apa pun tak. Sampai I yang pelik kat situ. I cakap, you faham tak what I'm saying? Do you understand apa tu gay? Dia kata dia faham. And you understand that I am gay? Dia faham. And you're okay with that? Dia kata, okay, dia tak kisah. And I said, and I dah macam, I was stunned. I macam, dah lah tak ada reaction. Tak ada apa. Lepas tu he was like, okay, dia tak kisah. Dia faham and he's okay with it. And I macam blur sekejap. Tiba-tiba dia cakap, I kena pergi ni, I have to go and see member. So I macam, okay, never mind, I'll talk to you nanti. So okay, he went off. And I was like, I ingat lagi time tu, I macam dah lah, aku the past 2 days aku duk gila otak, duk figure out how the hell nak bagi tahu dia kan. And how to start all these things. And then later on, the weirdest thing happened. Tiba-tiba aku form 4 time ni. Tak pernah aku duduk situ, sekolah offer duduk dekat guest house. They had a guest house. Guest house tu untuk VIPs and all these things. The guest house, right? Guest house tu tiba-tiba, I can't remember who it was. One of the wardens ke siapa kata, Mazhar, guest house ni kosong, ada kunci ni. Pergilah duduk situ, tak ada orang duduk. Alah saja-saja hang out dekat situ. Alang-alang tu pergilah, tak apa. Pasal I macam, yeah. And oh my God, I did not realise at the time kan. But bila fikir balik, oh my God, memang set up. Now I don't know if he got them to do this through the pengetua or dia intercept orang ni kat luar and sell a different story. I suspect diorang, my dad, dia buat macam ni. He will bullshit people, konon-kononnya, I suspect this, I suspect that, I want to investigate. So, orang pun ingat macam, this benda ni halal lah, konon-konon. Konon they're just doing an investigation. Tapi actually, he was trying to set me up. He was trying to frame me. Okay. Tiba-tiba, I was like thinking macam, selalu kita orang lepak kat dorm ramai-ramai. Okay lah, fine. So, I thought, I was hanging out with this guy. I said, jom lah. tiba-tiba sekolah bagi I lepak dekat guest house. I macam jom ramai-ramai. So I went there. When they borak-borak with all of them and everything. So it's our usual hangout, but at the guest house. Tiba-tiba dapat for free. For some unknown reason. Then tiba-tiba that night, oh shit. This kid tiba-tiba told me to tidur on the floor. I macam pelik mula-mula. Lepas tu dia macam change dia punya perangai. Time tu, I saw his face and the kid, another kid there dekat situ. Ada macam, hati I terjatuh kot. I macam, dia tuduh I tidur. Or tuduh I attempt to do something. I remember I was so hancur kot hati that he would even tuduh me something like that. Budak ni, daripada first aku anggap dia as my little brother masa mula-mula before he start buat the perangai pelik, aku dalam hati dah janji diri sendiri, I'm gonna look after this kid no matter what. I will die for this kid. That's how I am. And it's not only him, even my other juniors before, that's how I feel about them. I jaga dorang gila babi. I will look after them, even the girls semua. Right? I remember that time, I was like so, I tak tahu macam mana nak cerita sampai I felt like smashing, macam aku sanggup mati, aku sanggup bunuh diri, I would rather die and kill myself daripada aku even harm him. I would never even harm him. Even masa he did that, he roll over before pun aku tak buat apa-apa. I didn't do shit to him. Apa pun aku tak buat. In fact, aku lagi risau ada pasal dia. But then I ingat lagi masa tu, I saw his face and dengan budak kat sebelah tu, I was macam, and they were all like macam buat muka macam, like macam, so I was so conflicted because at the same time, I rasa macam, Alhamdulillah, at least he's got someone looking after him. Right? At least he's got someone looking after him. So at least he's got someone, anyone kacau him, he's got a support structure amongst his classmates and all these things. But I was so heartbroken masa tu. And then I was just waiting. And my style dengan juniors is that I tak nak carry masa I form 1. You cannot question the seniors. My style is, if you have a problem with me or if a senior does anything, I tunjuk by example, you are allowed to speak up. And I will not ugut you or threaten you or whatever. You are allowed to speak up and bagi tahu orang about this, because this is what I want for them. I want them to be safe. Right? So I waited, right, for this kid to do and everything lah, for before I say anything, because I want him to feel comfortable enough that he can confront me or say the things that he wants to say. But then I tunggu, and I notice budak ni duk pandang je, and suddenly out of the blue, tiba-tiba dia macam baik balik with me. I think he noticed that I was down and sedih and everything, and I rasa he finally figured out that he was being used. I tak tahulah, but it seems like he knew that I'm not a pedo and I wasn't trying to do anything to him. So dia macam kesian lah, tengok me, and I was like down and everything. But then he macam kesian, and then I look at him, I tak faham. And then he was like, no, like lepak with him. So now we're brothers again. Okay, jap. I'm going to pause sebab dah panjang. I need to use take a break sekejap. Okay, then tiba-tiba this budak dah okay with me. And I was pelik lah at the time. Kenapa kan? So, ada macam dah lost lah time tu. Tak tahu apa-apa kan. I remember I felt so down kan. Tapi budak ni macam, he dah tahu, I guess. He must have known and that, I was being framed or whatever. Sebab, yelah, past 2 years before that, dengan dia punya seniors, by that time, my juniors, my, adik-adik semua, boys and girls, tak ada apa-apa. Lepas tu, he was like okay with me. Now, by the way, I ingat lagi masa awal-awal, I tanya dia, orang mana? Dia kata dia orang Johor. Lepas tu, tanya duduk mana? Dia kata, duduk dekat Bandar Kinrara. I macam, Bandar Kinrara? And remember, masa ni I tengah duduk kat Mines. Mines dengan rumah dia is like 10 minutes. I literally beritahu, that's like 10 minutes away from my rumah. Macam, boleh lah. And then dia macam, come lah, jumpa my family semua. So, okay, fine. Time cuti sekolah, I went and jumpa dia punya family and everything. And then, kenal lah dia punya family from there. And here's another thing, masa 2000, kita orang pindah, 2000 tak silap, kita orang pindah pergi Putrajaya. We were one of the first people to stay in Putrajaya. Kita orang pindah masuk Sri Perdana Putrajaya masa siap. And his family tiba pindah pergi Taman Queen. So it was like, dekat juga kan. So macam sort of like neighbours tapi jauh sikit kan. So masa saya duduk kat Mines, saya duduk Bandar Kirana. Masa saya pergi duduk kat Putrajaya, tiba-tiba dia pindah pergi duduk dekat ni. So I was hanging out with him all the time. Dengan family dia lah at the house. Jumpa parents dia, everything. Kenal all the brothers and everything. You know, but masa before that it was Bandar Kirana lah. So anyway, back in school, so it was kind of weird. I rasa, macam terasa bab budak ni, I don't know what to say lah. Kita orang had this like, I guess a bond, like brother punya bond. Sebab kena ingat kita orang start out as brothers before all this weird shit happen. Yang I pun tak tahu kenapa this weird shit happen. At the time I thought, like I was wondering like, what's going on. Then we became brothers again. Lepas tu I remember he was so defensive of me time ni. Macam kalau orang time tu orang ejek dia, ni with me, dia lagi bengang sebab dia tahu every time orang ejek, because he knows I niat baik dengan dia. So dia macam I didn't understand time tu, but now I understand. Dia kena main dua dunia. Okay, and sometimes dia macam yo-yo back and forth. Macam bila I ingat kita orang brothers again, tiba-tiba nanti he will like buat perangai something like, kita orang banyak non-verbal tau. And later on I found out kenapa. Rupa-rupanya me dengan abang dia punya dia punya brother atas dia, perangai sama. So I think he saw yang my perangai dengan abang dia sama. Kita orang like budak skema, baik, and all these things. Tapi at the same time like, proper brother lah kan. So he really, really rapat with me and like, but as brothers. In front of everyone lah, dekat lepak and everything. So he was like very like macam defensive of me juga. So I remember benda tu, he like macam kalau budak ejek dia lagi, dia macam tak peduli, so what, he's my brother, like macam that sort of thing. And I used to hang out sampai to the point, I used to hang out dengan family dia, and then they introduced me dekat dia punya brother yang 1 year older than him. Looks completely different from him. Completely different. Dia jenis putih-putih macam tu. Abang dia completely the opposite. He's like completely the normal looking Malay. Tak, like biasa-biasa. Sorry jangan terasa abang tu. So we ended up being the three brothers. Kita orang hang out all the time, all together and everything. So I noticed this thing masa dia dekat sekolah. Whenever we are dekat sekolah, tiba-tiba dia perangai macam this weird shit will start happening. But every time kita orang lepak outside or dengan family dia, whatever, benda ni hilang. So at the time I tak faham. Okay, so it went on like that lah. We were close all the way, sampai I habis sekolah. I used to hang out dengan brother to the point that I selalu hang out dengan brother dia macam, kau budak sekolah lagi, kau duduk sekolah, sampai dia merajuk kan, budak ni. Macam, alamak, abang dia dua-dua dah macam malas nak layan dia. So, I remember one time I rasa macam sedih gila, macam alah, kesian kan budak ni kan, merajuk pula kan. Abang-abang dia tinggalkan dia. We used to like hang out all three of us kan, tiba-tiba ni kan. So, anyway, then tiba-tiba one day I remember I didn't know at the time what happened. One day tiba-tiba I got in a fight with the brother. It's not even got in a fight. Tiba-tiba I came back from vacation. The brother minta some souvenirs and stuff before that. Tiba-tiba I sampai kat rumah tu, I opened the door, he just started shouting at me and saying stuff, and I tak tahu kenapa. And I thought it was because of wedding abang, their older brother ke apa ke, like the mother promised me to go, and then I pergi, and then maybe they didn't want me there or whatever, I tak tahu. So I thought it was because of that mula-mula. Right? So because of that benda tu, ya Allah, I kena trauma gila babi. He shouted at me sampai you have to understand, I was very fragile at the time. Dah lah to deal dengan my depression masa daripada Form 2, Form 3, and then masa I Form 4 dengan kena tuduh and whatnot. And then, I thought everything, okay after that. And then tiba-tiba this guy who I dah consider my brother, and kita orang rapat gila. We used to hang out all the time, lepak sana, lepak sini, everything. And tiba-tiba dia buat macam ni. So I was completely hancur. This time I'm completely gone. Okay, sampai to the point that I tried to off myself 5 times. 5 times I tried to off myself. And during this time, I hancur gila. I used to, before that, this was 2004 by the way. Before that, I used to hang out with my juniors ni lah. I'm the abang, the guys and the girls. I used to hang out and with their parents, where everybody knows me dengan parents. Sebab I akan selalu jaga budak-budak ni. So I had all these KYS, juniors that I used to hang out with and apa semua, even though I dah keluar daripada sekolah. I used to visit the school. Kita orang macam tu sebab duduk asrama kan. Bila dah stop, semua orang macam rindu. Not only me, other people as well, batch apa semua. Kalau ada dinner, mesti turun, all these kind of things. So I used to hang out with, the juniors, bila time diorang cuti, whatever, like hang out with them, with their parents and everything. So I used to do that. And I remember when this thing happened, I hancur gila. Everyone kat sekolah tahu about this. Like all the juniors and everyone, they all knew I was like hancur gila. Especially the juniors, right? I was like completely out. And the weirdest thing happened. I ingat time tu, I wanted to ask my little brother ni lah kan, what happened? Sebab I tak tahu. Sebab I dah fikir dah apa benda I buat kan. I tak ada buat salah apa-apa pun. I tak ada buat apa-apa salah kat abang dia. I tak buat apa-apa salah kat dia. I didn't do anything. So that's why at the time I thought, maybe because of the wedding kot. Maybe they don't want me there ke apa ke. I tak tahu. So, sorry lah benda ni panjang kan. Tapi terpaksa. I have to cerita A sampai Z. So, I remember time tu I hancur. And then I tried to contact, him, my little brother ni. Tanya, what did I do? Like, apa benda kan? Lepas tu dia tak balas. Then I remember I was in school one time for apa tak. I tried to talk to him. Dia selalu elak. Tiba-tiba suddenly, budak ni, tiba-tiba, dia macam, tak nak jumpa with me sebab I'm gay and all these things. Lepas tu I macam, I macam dah pelik. Lepas tu I macam, gay? You've known I'm dalam hati lah. You've known I'm gay since you were Form 1, and everyone else knew as well. You know what I mean? Like macam pelik gila. But then there's juniors yang baru masuk. Masa tu I think he was Form 5 maybe. I don't know. He was Form 5 at the time. So tiba-tiba dia macam tu. And then I remember one time I nampak muka dia. Dia macam, and I sort of understood sebab I was thinking at the time like macam, tak apalah, maybe dia malu because he's at that stage, they're going through that phase, maybe, and I tak faham what the hell was going on. I macam apa je lah kan, macam, but at the same time he was like indicating to me like macam, because dia memang macam tu, every time he wants to do something, like dia akan macam sort of like macam let me know that everything's like don't worry, I got this kind of thing. I tak tahu macam mana nak explain, but it's like we understand each other. So I kind of just like biarkan je lah, never mind lah, tak apalah. Tapi I terasa lah macam, at the time and I tak faham. So, okay, kita orang, that happened. And then, he didn't talk to me and the brother didn't talk to me for years. And I had no idea kenapa. And I was going through severe trauma time ni. I kena PTSD sampai I nak lalu area rumah dia pun, I will freeze, I will flashback, I'll start breaking down, crying and stuff. Lepas tu I tried to off myself. Sampai I fikir macam tak apalah macam ni kan. Satu dunia kata, dah lah aku gay, whatever, never mind. I'm going to do hudud on myself lah basically kan. Like kalau if my, aku dah depressed before, I tried my best, dengan my partner tu pun dia ada different problem lah. I malas nak buka sebab aib. And then dengan my little brother, I thought, what, maybe I deserve to burn in hell. So I pun gigil lah nak pergi off myself, burn in hell. While I'm going through severe trauma. Sampai teruk gila time ni. It's like, budak-budak ni, dia mesti tahu hancur gila. And this, I remember, this is the first time yang bila I fikir balik, I finally figured out that he's been spying on me daripada dulu. Because the same weapon, dia pakai military weapon tau. The same weapon my dad pakai to harass me in 2007, rupa-rupanya dia dah pakai in 2004, 2005 I think was the last one I tried to do on myself. Sebab I was already out. I was gone. I basically dah nak mati lah. Basically dah that's it lah. Dah final call lah. Basically dah mampus. I was completely out. And I remember I was on the floor completely. My whole body was numb and everything. But at the time I wasn't aware yet. Suddenly I remember like being awoke, macam dikejutkan, like I heard this tiny little like sound getting louder and louder, and it was like forcing me, the words yang dia cakap is like, you don't want to die because you still love them, right? Sebab at the time I thought I failed, my brother, his older brother, and him as well, my younger brother, and I thought I failed everyone lah kan. So this voice, and it just got gradually louder and louder, and I ingat lagi time tu, I was like, it felt like I was floating. The sound was coming from my right, and I was like, when I first conscious, it felt like macam I was macam atas like soft clouds. I tak tahu macam mana nak explain. It's like, I don't know, it just felt like macam love, and there was like this thread to the other side. I tak tahu lah. Maybe some people call it like the tunnel ke whatever. Yeah. But I distinctly remember that was my first feeling. Was I felt that, and then while this sound was getting louder and louder, and then I heard the words, and at first I just like baring. I remember I was just hugging that macam, it's sort of like awan kind of thing, which I thought was weird later on because I thought I was going to hell. You know, I dah berye dah, sending myself to neraka kan, macam fuck it lah kan, if I, you know, because that's how much anyway, that's how much I care about them. But anyway, so this voice got louder and louder, and then it literally paksa me to repeat the words. And I didn't understand. The paksa lagi got louder and louder, paksa, until I started repeating. And next thing I know, I sedar and I'm on the floor. My whole badan kebas. And, you know, and then I'm like crying and crying, repeating these words. That's how I remember I was crying and crying and crying. You know, and I didn't know. So anyway, so that's the first time I knew they pakai this thing. And it's weird because before that, I did a few other things, and the family throughout this whole time, I tengah trauma, the family langsung tak cakap apa-apa, langsung tak apa, but the staff knew, because one time I ended up in the hospital, masa tu I minum bleach. I tried to minum bleach, but there was these people on this, masa tu zaman tu, it was the early days of the internet, so, you know, I used to join this, I was in this like suicide group kind of thing, and someone sabotaged the thing. So I ended up mixing it with soda, and it neutralized the thing. So I had to take myself to the hospital, and then the staff came. The staff, I ingat lagi. The staff came and they knew about it. But the family senyap. And then this was after that. Tak silap. Yeah, I think it was after that, the one after. And this suara thing. Okay, fine. So I remember that I used to think about that a lot. What the hell did it mean? Sebab the way the perkataan was, it was so neutral, it could have meant two things. You don't want to die because you still love them, or you don't want to die because you still love them. Faham tak? Ada dua maksud. So that thing stuck in my head for a long time. So, you know, I stopped trying to off myself for a while. But during this time, I rabak gila. I was like hancur gila. You know, I was like, you know, I memang hancur gila babi time tu. I was going through so much shit. I cracked. I almost had split personality at one point. You know, I was like, you know, time sampai later on when I fikir balik, I thought 5 years had passed ke berapa tahun had passed, rupanya it was just 1 year. 1 year or 2 years like macam tu, and I couldn't believe it. But this was later lah when I thought about it. Okay. Then, so I was hancur at that time, kau punya, I remember I was going through so much shit. And my juniors KYS, you know, sampai diorang pun tak tahu nak buat apa dah. Diorang pun dah macam terkejut. Everyone was like tenganga because no one has ever seen me like this before. You know, like I completely, everything changed because I felt so worthless. You know, I felt macam worthless gila lah, macam like I'm nothing, you know, and it really teruk gila. So, and then my juniors yang mana yang younger, I don't want to susahkan dorang dengan benda ni sebab benda ni heavy gila kan. So I didn't want them to be exposed to the pain that I was going through. So the older ones pula, you know, slowly dorang dah kena start, dah habis sekolah and then got to go, you know, fly, you know, study and all these things. So I was isolated for quite a while. And what happened then was so weird. So I was like going out, I would, you know, sometimes zaman tu like meet people online and whatnot. And one time I was meeting with someone and suddenly this another kid comes in, introduces himself out of the blue. And again, I did not notice any of these things until later on baru I put two and two together. To me, it was just a normal guy. And he introduced himself. I thought he was an adult lah kan. So, dia ajak lepak, everything. Lepak, we hit it off straight away, you know, just as member, as bros. member macam tu. Because I'm like that. I'm not like, macam, no, I'm like, member lah, And then next thing I know, this like laju gila it happens. Suddenly he wants me to meet his pals and then say, ada rugby ni. I'm like, okay. And I thought, what, you're playing your college ni? Tak, sekolah. I'm like, huh? What? I said, nah, tak apa, it's okay, it's fine. Ikut sekali. I'm just sekolah. I'm like, what? How old are you? And I tengok, they're still sekolah. I think it was 15 at the time it was. And to me, at the time, I was like, okay. Tapi he was like, insisted lah. And lepas okay, fine. Jumpa. Lepas jumpa member dia, jom lepak sekali lah. And then jumpa girlfriends. Jumpa members. Suddenly, out of the blue, I tak sempat nak buat apa-apa. It's like, I'm suddenly being adopted by an entirely new batch of kids that are now my little brothers and sisters yang I kena jaga. But mostly brothers, right? And to me at the time, you can ingat, I'm going through all this trauma and shit. So I'm not there half the time, right? And then to me, it's like there's no difference because it's continuation, sama je. Like I'm looking out for my juniors, and then suddenly this one, I'm like, and then diorang baik gila, they look after me and stuff. And it was weird because they insisted on hanging out with me all the time. Sampai I kenal diorang punya family, diorang punya parents diorang semua suruh jaga, look after them. So I was like the big brother in the group. Anything diorang problem dengan family, lari daripada rumah, mas datang ambil sekarang. So I used to like pick them up, their parents called me up, can you find out where ni pergi, hilang, sekolah. So it was a completely different thing. So you bayangkan I'm that budak skema, everything budak KYS or budak skema, suddenly, but they couldn't handle what was going on with me. Suddenly this new group appeared. Sekejap gila. Like jumpa, an entire new batch. Boys and girls, sama je macam KYS. And I'm their brother and I got to look after them. So, and I didn't know at the time, even before that and during that, like I was meeting people and whatnot, and then later on, when I say later on, kadang-kadang like months later or years later, then I find out, rupa-rupanya these people that I met, jumpa, just meet macam tu. Later on, I found out, diorang tipu about their age. Now, at the time, I remember I was pissed off. I was so pissed off. I dah macam like, what the hell? Sampai I marah and everything. I mean, I bengang gila lah. Sampai macam tak layan and everything kan. While I was hanging out with these kids. But these kids all know. Diorang baik gila. Diorang look after me. They said, Mas, kita orang tahu. So what if you're gay? So what? Doesn't mean that you're bad. Doesn't mean that you're pervert or anything. We know you didn't do anything apa semua. Diorang cakap macam tu. Budak-budak ni. And the only reason that I was alive was because these kids. Because they will not leave me alone. Diorang tak akan biar I seorang. If I'm alone, they will quickly like macam, kena ikut diorang, kena lepak dengan diorang and everything and whatnot. So, they were really taking care of me at that time. And, we really, kita orang like brothers. The girls tu kadang-kadang lah, jumpa their girlfriends and everything. But we were really like brothers. And it was like a whole batch of them. So for me, it's like sama je. Macam like KYS, I'm the brother. I kenal their parents. I look after them and everything. And here's the funny thing. Which I found out later on. This is the important thing. They all ada kaitan dengan Johor. Right? And even some of them, I find out later, ada kait mengait dengan my family. That means knows my family. Right? So, what a small world. And I did not know any of this until much later. Right? Okay? Time tu langsung tak tahu apa-apa. I didn't think anything of it. Mana I tahu time tu? Like, I didn't know I was being set up. I was being framed and shit. Tapi diorang tahu. They knew. In fact, they always look after me. And I also look after them lah because it's I jenis abang yang kalau I susah macam mana pun, I still have to do my responsibility. I have to look after them. So I jadi macam sort of like the Steve Harrington ala-ala macam look after them macam apa cerita Stranger Things so, right? But this is the important thing. Okay, semua budak-budak yang dia pakai semua or whatever mesti ada kaitan dengan Johor or kerabat or whatever, right? And I did not know at the time. I did not understand. And I did not know until later on. Now, this is what happened. Going through all these things, suddenly one day, tiba-tiba family did a big fuss. I was about to off myself again. I wanted to say goodbye to these kids, but I didn't want to. Because I felt bad kan, macam abandoning diorang kan. Macam dah lah, aku dah janji dengan diorang kan. after them, I won't ni and apa. So I thought that tak apalah, I'll just tell them. The moment I nak bagi tahu, terus dorang tahu, dorang macam, mas, jangan, cepat, kau datang sekarang, kau datang ambil aku tak kisah, kau datang sekarang. That sort of thing. And they, at the same time, suddenly the family was there and everything, and there was big kecoh and whatnot. Sampai I got fed up dengan dorang and whatnot, because tiba-tiba jadi kecoh. Then I got so fed up with my family sebab I macam, what the hell? I've been going through all this shit dah berapa lama dah. None of them ever said anything, never apa semua. Tiba-tiba nak sedap-sedap, just nak sound me lah apa semua. Before that lah pun ada macam konon nak sound lah apa semua, like, oh, what are you, wahal, like, you don't even know what I'm going through, you don't even know, right? And I macam, at the time lah, I thought, and then later on I find out, oh, patut lah the family was quiet. My dad was the one orchestrating. He was the one orchestrating. I cakap at this, he kurang ajar gila babi, okay? Now you know the type of man he is. Dia tak peduli, langsung dia guna budak-budak. Let me tell you one thing, masa dia duk harass me, he even said he doesn't give a shit about dia punya kids. Anak dia sendiri, my brothers and sisters, and cucu dia sendiri, even mummy. Dia kata dia tak peduli, because to him, he's the only one. Sebab dia toddler mentality. That's why, even I'm sure the politicians semua tahu, semua orang kena ampu dia, kena dote on him, anything macam he's like this big baby that you must satisfy. And he doesn't care about anyone. Okay, he doesn't give a shit about anyone other than himself. Right? Not even family. Right? So I got so pissed off, I said, enough, I'm leaving the house. I'm leaving the house. I left the house, I said, enough, I'm going to be independent. So I pergilah duduk kat rumah member. Tiba-tiba, I duduk kat rumah member, tiba-tiba buat case, konon-kononnya, because I smoke up. I remember time ni I rabak gila. I did so much stuff because I was like completely rock bottom gila babi. I dah hancur gila my heart. My heart was like, I tak tahu macam mana lah, but it was so bad, right? And, suddenly, tiba-tiba, because of that, I was like, what the hell, and like macam, okay lah, I just kept quiet. I macam papa kan, like macam okay. Tiba-tiba they send me konon pergi rehab. Okay, rehab punya cerita dodge lagi satu. When I got to the rehab, this is also family control. Family knows the guy. When I was at the rehab, tiba-tiba, buat cabin sendiri, family paid for. I'm allowed to do anything in there. I still nak continue like normal. I can continue like normal. I even told the guy, I said, I smoke up and everything. Because I think, to me at the time, I'm not there. I'm like half there, half not there. My whole life from 2004 all the way until 2007 when this thing started. In fact, even after, slightly after, I was like not there, right? And they're okay je. In fact, budak-budak ni nak datang lepak chill, member-member nak datang semua dapat I get special treatment. Siap ada cabin sendiri lagi. Tak pelik je. Why? Because they do orchestrate this whole thing. So anyway, 2007, this weird thing happened. Suddenly, tiba-tiba kecoh, all these things and whatnot. And I heard all these voices and blah, 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 blah. Tiba-tiba, I'm mengamuk. It sounded like people were hounding me. Macam tengah follow me everywhere. Lepas tu cakap-cakap about me and stuff. And I fucking went mental. Sebab it was like non-stop. And I didn't know at the time. Then, this was the first time I heard, my dad tiba masuk. He tried to bullshit. I don't know lah. He tried to bullshit everyone with a story or whatever. And then I was like, kenapa tiba-tiba dia? I thought he was going to come in and because the situation bunyi macam orang duk kecoh and all these things. And I thought it was going to end the thing lah kan. Tak. He didn't end the thing. Dia lagi instigate, nak lagi, sambung lagi. Tiba-tiba next thing I know, people burst through the door, send me to mental hospital. I thought at the time macam, okay lah, Alhamdulillah, this thing has ended. Tengok, I'm there. I hear this audio again, people's voices. I didn't know what the hell was going on. This was 2007. I thought, okay lah, fine. Dia nak kata aku gila ke apa, like end this thing there. Tak, dia sambung lagi. Sampai dah ni. But every time I'm there, every time I nak speak out about him ke apa ke, because by this time I knew he was lying. Sebab dia dah, when he was like doing this harassment, I heard him like lie so many things, and I noticed him like faking it, bullshitting, this other suara orang, other people and whatnot. I'm macam, what the hell? He's like lying and everything. Lepas tu, I was there. Kalau I say anything, diorang akan drug me, diorang akan ikat me to the bed and torture me. So I was physically tortured. Sampai he ugut me. He said, if I don't shut up, I'll get electrocuted lah, apa semua. Sampai I stayed there the longest. You bayangkan orang actual gila duduk dekat dalam tu lagi sekejap daripada aku. He purposely put me in there to sweat me out. I stayed there the longest. Sampai orang keluar, masuk, keluar, masuk, keluar, masuk. Sampai I seorang kat situ. At one point, I was alone there. There's hardly anyone there. And I was still there. And I didn't know why. I tanya doktor. Doktor pun tak nak cakap kenapa. Sampai one point, I got fed up. I cakap, the doctor, if you don't tell me what the diagnosis and why I'm staying here longer than people potong jari. Gila sampai potong their toes. Pun belah lagi awal daripada aku. I told him I'm going to call lawyer, buat police report and everything. Terus on the spot the next day, suddenly all the brothers and sisters showed up. Semua panic. Jumpa meeting dekat in one of the rooms kat tepi. Suddenly, marah-marah, you have to shut up, stop, if you don't stop, we're going to send you to Tanjung Rambutan. You better stop, keep quiet. But I nampak diorang, it's not like they are in on it tau at the time. They were more like kena paksa by my dad. It seems like that because they were more like macam tak tahu nak buat apa. So it's like, okay, you kena faham dia selalu guna middleman to keep his hands clean. Itu cara dia. That's why he always stays clean. Not he's not clean. He looks clean because he always use middleman. Right? Trying to shut me up. Okay, suruh senyap. Tiba-tiba dia cakap, we've got a nice place for you. It's in Mua, blah, blah, blah. Lepas tu, ada macam, mula-mula, I don't give a shit lah kan. I macam, kau nak letak aku Tanjung Rambutan, biar, you want to throw away the key. I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to keep quiet. Lepas tu, they beg and beg. Lepas tu, I macam, okay lah, fine lah. Sebab my abang-abang kakak-kakak, and I sayang dorang kan. So, okay, fine. I went for it. Huge mistake. Also, family pegang this guy. Rupa-rupanya, I was there, habis. I cannot do anything. At one point, I tried to even call lawyers. Lawyer pun tak nak layan. I tried to call police. Police sampai je, I wanted to report to the police. Cepat-cepat dia hantar orang, bagi tahu, jangan. Ni dah tim paduka, ni Tun M. Ni, So, and police terus belah. Lepas tu, I kena lah, apa lagi. Lepas tu, the more I lawan, the more I cakap about my dad, lagi teruk I kena. Sampai last I had to lay low, I had to play along. Fine. I finally got out. This whole time, he was harassing me pakai audio ni. Then I found out, apparently dia cakap, he got it from Ananda, Uncle Ananda. Tak tahulah kalau true or not. Through context dia, whatever. Now, you have to remember, dia ni, he's got access to the whole military industrial complex. Dia buat lima and everything. He's got access. And people that rich can easily get black market military weapons or kenal contact that boleh pinjam or whatever. So he said at first, I tak tahulah dia cakap. He said at first it was from Ananda, to get him. So tak tahulah dia pakai miasat ke, dia hire from outside ke, pakai, from elsewhere. I don't know. So this whole time from 2007 daripada I lepas, I had to play it cool and I didn't know what the hell was going on. His whole time during this time, he ugut me. Mula-mula 2007 to 2009, dia belum kantoi lagi tau. Because he had this group of people who were there with him, harassing me pakai this audio thing. Okay? It's basically an audio weapon. Dia directed audio, so only I can hear it. Orang lain tak dengar. It's a military weapon. So, he had this group and awal-awal, the group didn't know about all his shit, but I duk kantoikan dia because every time he kept lying and he was lying about me as well. I kept on kantoi dia. So cerita dia duk ubah-ubah. By 2009, 2010, dia dah kantoi habis dah. In front of all dia punya goons, dia punya people, I dah cakap, you see, there's no more excuses. Every single thing dia cakap is bullshit. Right? Then, but I had to lay low because time ni, by 2010 onwards, he do ugut me with the whole world. Dia cakap, nobody is going to believe me lah. They're just going to say I'm crazy. Dia duk cakap macam tu, haha. Then I found out kenapa dia buat benda tu. Because dia cakap, that's his insurance policy. Now ingat time tu dia ingat dia takkan kantoi benda ni semua. So he was so confident that no one will ever find out. Right? He said, if I ever tell anyone, he'll just say I'm crazy and I'll be locked up. No one will believe me. So he even belagak kata that was his insurance policy. Right? So who's gonna believe me if I cakap? Right? He can quickly just and I did. Few times I spoke up, tiba-tiba, I kena angkut. Go back to Muar. Sampai whatever. They'll use the doctor to ugut me. Right? To shut up. Otherwise, throw away the key. So, fine. So, I had to play cool lah kan. So, around this time, 2011, 2012, I pretty much figure out lah kan, his whole mata satu thing. And all his shit, because he was bragging masa tu dia kerja dengan US lah, dia kerja dengan British lah. Time tu dia kata, Najib was in on it lah, Anwar was in on it, all the businessmen, the politicians were in on it. They all gang mata satu and all this shit. Okay, and pasal mata satu ni, later on I find out sebenarnya dia poyo je. Dia duk bullshit semua orang, kodon-kodon dia ada powerful backing. Actually tak. Dia main investor scammer punya trick. Dia buat benda so it looks like he has backing. He tells everyone takut, ingat dia ada actual backing, but actually dia tak ada backing pun. That's his trick, that's his MO. And by the way, dia punya kurang ajar pakai budak, dia punya tak peduli. You imagine he's been trying to frame me as his backup insurance policy as a pedo daripada aku umur 12 tahun. Dia pakai budak perempuan 6 tahun. This guy is so kurang ajar. In fact, hari tu I dengar dia punya podcast pasal GISBH tu. He's so, by the way, that podcast is full on bullshit propaganda. Itu dia nak scam pass. Sebab I remember masa isu tu keluar, I was at home. I went for lunch ke dinner, I tak ingat. Sebab remember, from 2007 onwards, he and the family were gaslighting me, kodon-kodon trying to treat me like I'm crazy. Tapi wahal everyone knew what was going on. He kurang ajar gila babi. He was like, at first mula-mula, teruk gila, like it's so terrible and whatnot. But bila pas kata, tak baik, ni, tiba-tiba dia podcast, dia tukar cerita. He's so kurang ajar that podcast. Kalau you perasan, that podcast is so scripted, by the way. I know, I boleh baca A sampai Z. Kenapa dia orang repeat Bumi Putra business, all of that is brainwashing, by the way. Pukau. Kalau Melayu panggil pukau. It's called, dia nak distract orang from the real issue. Then, he's paling kurang ajar bila the guy tanya dia, macam mana you say about these kids yang kena rape, kena apa semua. Tiba-tiba, you tahu dia punya statement apa? Kita dengar diorang ada buat kursus liwat. Boleh ke kita percaya ada kursus liwat? My God. He just diverted from the issue completely and turned it into a joke. Kurang ajar gila babi weh. Budak-budak. Real kids kena rogol and he tried to turn it into a joke. He literally gelakkan and turned it into a joke. The question was, what do you have to say about the kids who got raped? And his first statement, kita dengar diorang ada buat kursus liwat. Boleh ke kita percaya ada kursus liwat? How does that have anything to do dengan budak-budak ni kena rogol? That's how kurang ajar he is. Semata-mata sebab dia nak bullshit pass. Sumpah demi Allah pass. And in fact, pass tak payah nak anything believe dia punya shit. And UMNO people and other people tak payah takut. He's trying to pit you all against each other. And dia nak korang rasa macam, if pass tahu pasal ni, you all will be, you will be investigated. Tak ada. This is his divide and conquer. You all must work together. He is the bomo kampung scamming you all. And bloody hell kurang ajar gila cakap macam tu pasal budak-budak kena rogol. And now you know why. Sebab dia memang tak peduli langsung. In fact, dia duk pakai budak-budak. Like, I tak tahu nak cakap macam mana. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, pasal him trying to frame and all these things. So then I find out, he's doing 2010 and everything. Then barulah masa awal-awal tu 2011-12 I started posting on my Facebook. Apa nama pasal I kata even one blogger mentioned about me sebut Najib murtad and all that. The reason why I said that was because he was harassing me and said Najib was in on it with him, they're all in it together dengan dia and blah blah blah. Now you kena ingat, when he stepped down in 2003, he reinvented himself. Ingat time tu semua orang kata UMNO dirty, corrupt. Semua orang dah fed up because of this. So he ditched UMNO and he biar orang hentam UMNO. Now aku kesian all the UMNO people sebab diorang just following orders. Sebab tu diorang macam, but you're the one yang buat Malaysia Inc. You're the one yang GLCs and everything and tell everyone to do this, do that, and then tiba-tiba, they are corrupt. Wahai kepala, tiba-tiba reinvent himself. He memang disguise. Dia akan tukar. Every couple of decades. You know why he always loves to say Melayu mudah lupa? Sebab dia dah lama kelentong Melayu. Mula-mula dia kelentong Ultra Malay. Bila dia jadi PM, he change everything. Melayu mudah lupa. Because he completely 180, the Malays forgot. When he was doing UMNO and shit, he stepped down. He pretend he's a normal man on the street. Melayu lupa again. Fell for it. Konon-konon, baiknya Tun M macam ni, Tun M macam tu, blah blah blah. By that time. Okay? And then tiba-tiba, I remember masa, it's so funny. Before he stepped down, people were using blogs. Masa tu, zaman tu blog baru naik. Internet baru tengah nak, get blogs were the in thing at the zaman. And I clearly remember he said, this is against democracy. Kalau siapa yang politics mesti ingat benda ni. Kenapa? We are in a democratic. Kalau tak puas hati, wait till the next election. He wanted to ban blogs. Tiba-tiba, he stepped down. Suddenly, dia suka blog. Tiba-tiba dia pun nak blog. Reinvent himself. Because dia tahu dia tak boleh lawan. Orang semua still pakai blog. Nobody cares. So, he wants to play that game. Buatlah cik that CC dia tu. Nak konon-konon one with the people. Kan? And whatnot. Anyway, so during this whole time, he was threatening me with all these things, and I posted on Facebook at the time, tapi orang tak tahu kenapa. And then, I remember one time he ugut me, because I dah kantorkan him, his whole plan and everything, and he ugut me. He said he was going to do something to me, get gangsters to beat me up. Tiba-tiba, kecoh, the whole thing kecoh, blog keluar, anak Tun M gay, lepas tu tunjuk me and my partner and apa semua, lepas tu sampai gangsters wanted to beat me up lah, nak jumpa, tak puas hati lah, all these things. And I was like, like for real lah, I memang lawan lah time tu, I don't give two shits lah kan. Lepas tu, I macam, what the hell kan. Wahal dia tahu je, I dengan my partner time tu, the whole time dengan lepak dengan, go over for dinner. In fact, 2015, siap pergi yang family vacation and everything, family day and not family day lah, family weekend Langkawi and everything, tak kisah pun. And that was way after all that. Okay? And but at the time I tak tahu. So it took me so many years, I had to lay low. And he figured out that still gaslighting me and everything, tapi over the years dia rasa confident, dia tak kantor and everything, the cracks started to show. So makin lama makin ketara. And during this whole time, he was bragging, dia konon-konon dia geng mata satu. And I percaya lah time tu kan, he was bragging how he was a murtad lah, apalah. Lepas tu he brag about his whole scam. He was going to scam the whole Muslim world, for the West. And then he was going to control the Islamic world on behalf of the mata satu, geng-geng mata satu dia, and all these things. So I figured out his whole plot. But at the time, I thought everyone was in on it. It's only towards the end, 2023, 2024, I figured out they don't kelentong about all that things. But anyway, I'll go back to that. So anyway, this is the time dia buat kurang ajar, banyak gila babi lah benda kan. Then 2023, and before that, I started, he chill sekejap. So I'm like, okay lah, I fought with him behind the scenes. I got him on my Facebook. I post, to sign a piece of paper that says that Allah is God. Sebab I tahu by that time I knew he was an atheist. Dia dah murtad. And then it's like, to say that, Islam is the law and, so he signed the thing and I posted it on my Facebook and all these things. And the reason, dia selalu problem because dia nak bullshit followers dia. He wants plausible deniability. So, dia macam every time dia tak tahu nak buat apa kan. So, ended up this. So, all these things were happening. Right? He was trying to force me to murtad for 18 years. right? From daripada 2007 sampai lah ni lah, he's been trying to force me, trying to trick me to murtad. Even one time he told me that if I just play along, he can even guarantee, I can be PM in the future. And he got, throughout this time, dia buat macam-macam to me. He did so much. He sexually assaulted me dengan dia punya gang, dengan dia punya goons. And goons dia macam-macam tau. Ada scammers, ada cyber troopers, ada agents, political agents. Diorang nak buat macam-macam. They want to set up ajaran sesat. They want to set up, and all these things. They want to set up Christian groups, Hindu groups, apa semua, to pit against each other and, bullshit people. And he pegang everything. Basically, the same scam yang dia buat dekat the Malays and the Chinese and the Indians sebelum tu, he wants to do that. But on the international stage. That's when I figured out that rupa-rupanya, let me get back. 2003, so 2019, I decided, okay lah, I'm going to do small business, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing a small business. Then I wanted to do gardening dekat family house. And then 2023, when he dah, I kept on blocking him, I kept on telling him, he's going to kantoi this and that. And he knew already his whole plot was going to fail. His whole plot was to say that kodong-kodongnya I work with Anwar and Sultan Johor and the sultans were behind it. He wanted to scam PAS, kodong-kodong because I'm gay. And kodong-kodongnya, I'm pro-West apa semua. By the way, dia yang groom, and look at the Mahathir family semua macam mana. Beza tak dengan the Anwars? From Abim, he groomed to Western. Beza tak? Because he was the dalang the whole time. He is actually the Barua Barat. Right? But, sorry lah, that was in the 80s and 90s. Now, he's got no backing. Then, 2023 ke bila? I can't remember. He started tiba-tiba, nak baik-baik. He started baik dengan PAS first. Masa yang Bersih, long before Bersih, I remember I told, I got to backtrack sikit. Long before Bersih, in 2013 ke apa ke, bila 2014, somewhere thereabouts, I remember I started telling people around me that he's trying to bullshit everyone and he's doing this two-party system and everything, but no one percaya, right? And then tiba-tiba the Bersih thing, he start using Najib as an excuse. Let me bagi tahu the whole thing konon Najib. He cakap, Najib is corrupt, use money politics. No. He is the one yang ajar. Remember, Najib and everyone was all anak buah dia, and he was the first one to introduce this thing. All these things, this money politics. He was the one doing it in the 90s. Because I clearly remember. I remember zaman tu. Tak percaya, tanyalah. So he normalized the whole thing. Right? But then because he reinvented himself in 2003 when he stepped down, so orang dah terlupa. Right? So he bullshitted everyone about that. Tiba-tiba dia guna Bersih and everything, and Bersih, Ambiga knows Kak Ina, and so it's a small world. Basically, dia control everything. So he used Bersih as this, and I remember telling people, jangan fall for it, but everyone thought he changed. And then suddenly, dia together suddenly, dia tak kisah. He told people for decades, he will never, until the day he dies, ever work with Anwar because Anwar West, pro-America, and Anwar gay, dia cakap. Right? Suddenly, tiba-tiba, dia tak kisah dah. And that was 2017, 2018. Right? This whole thing. Right? And sure enough, he conned everyone. Everyone seems to forget during the Sheraton move and whatnot, what he actually wanted. Dia pakai alasan, dia dah janji to everyone that he was going to step down. Remember? Mula-mula dia janji to everyone he was going to step down. Tiba-tiba, bila everyone kata, why you not going to step down? Why are you pressuring me to step down? No, I want to step down whenever I want to step down. After this, after that, blah, blah, blah. Tiba-tiba, he big kecoh huha. Tiba-tiba, he resigned as PM, tapi he's still holding the post. He wanted everyone to support him as the new PM. And what did he say? He said, siapa ingat benda ni? I hope you all remember. Dia cakap, dia jadi PM after that, he's got no mandate. He no longer has, not mandate, he no longer has any contract with the rakyat. So what he was actually trying sebenarnya, was he wanted to be like how he was PM1, the ultimate ruler that even the rakyat cannot say anything because he said, well, I already stepped down, you voted me in, but I already stepped down. So if I'm PM, because of the politicians vote him in, the parliament MPs all vote him in, he tak payah, he doesn't have to give a shit about whatever promises he did during election. He doesn't have to give a shit about anyone, about UMNO ke whoever ke, because dia kata dia tak janji anyone anything, but he wanted everyone to vote him so that he become PM. Complete absolute power. That's what he wanted. Now, before that, you have to understand, this guy, oh my god, he teruk gila. His obsession dengan power, dia dah memang mabuk gila kuasa. During this time, this is the time where he kurang ajar gila. He was, before this lah, when he was harassing me pakai this audio weapon. Kurang ajar gila, dia cakap, you know, he hina Islam and everything. He hina that I believe in Allah. Dia siap gelakkan, dia kata, oh, he's Allah. And I must bow down to him and sembah dia. Ada sekali ni, time raya. Dia gelakkan, dia cakap, oh, raya, you kena bow down and you kena salam raya. You kena sembah me. Ha ha ha, you will murtad. I remember that one raya, I told the whole families, at that pagi raya, I cakap, no, I'm not going to do it this year. Diorang semua, ha? Dia macam, oh, okay mas, it's okay. He literally duduk dekat situ, muka dia tersenyum melekat, and he was like the kepala geleng. I think all the politicians know about kepala geleng, lepas tu dia pandang, dia macam tak boleh brain. That I literally dare do that, okay? This is how shit this guy actually is behind the scenes. Oh my god, kalau benda ni keluar dengan dia punya goons dia, sexual molest me lah, apa semua, brag how they're going to destroy Islam, brag how the PAS bodoh, they're gonna scam PAS, and then they're going to enslave PAS legally, and all this shit, and all the Malays, you know, kurang ajar gila babi weh. OIC dia buat 2003, mata satu dia, kurang ajar, and he brag about that to me behind, while he was harassing me. He bragged how even the OIC, the Islamic countries, can't do anything to him. Okay, then to 2023, he started saying, oh, Anwar and Johor is in on it. And then, you know, oh, I can't do anything about it. This is 2023, 2023, dia kata Anwar and Johor is in on it, working together with him for this plot. Right? Then I korek lagi. I remember, I lawan dengan dia, lagi. This is like, I think kalau orang Putrajaya, I duduk Dusun Putrajaya, Precinct 19. Kalau siapa yang dengar malam-malam tu ke petang-petang ada orang duduk jerit-jerit, tu aku lah tu. Aku tengah sound dia tu. So if anyone ever heard orang Putrajaya dengar ada orang jerit-jerit seberang daripada Tasik, ni dekat CBD Putrajaya, yang between Jambatan Kuning tu dengan PICC tu, itu aku lah tu duduk jerit-jerit tu. Okay, anyway. 2023. Then I figured out, oh shit, sebenarnya he's got no backing from anyone. Sebab why? Dia kantoi. Tiba-tiba lah time tu dia dengan goons dia duk kelang kabut, nak figure out how to get the British to back him up, how to get the Americans to back him up, how he wants to get the One Eye Gang to back him up and everything, you know, to cover for him and everything and blah 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 blah. Dah lah he became, oh by the way, at one point before he even sanggup jadi Yahudi. Like literally, because I hentam dia pakai Islamic law, and then he said, okay, he jadi Christian. Then I research pasal Christian, I hentam dia pakai Christian law, he murtad Christian, he became a Jew. Dia kata, never mind, the Sanhedrin, ha ha ha, no one can kacau him. Remember dia kamcing dengan the Jews daripada lama. He had a interview in 1990 bila tah, dengan Guy Sharet from Israel TV. Okay, go look it up, Google that thing. He had an interview. And in that interview, the transcript, he says he's got a lot of Jewish friends, Jewish pals, you know, and then, you know, he was in the same hotel with the Israeli president or whatever the hell it was at the time, you know, blah, blah, blah and whatnot, you know, and all these things. So he literally tried to say, oh, I can't, nobody can fuck with him because now he's a Jew, the Jews will back him up. Semua benda ni behind the scenes. Okay, dia sanggup because he thought that the Jews. Then I hentam him pakai Jewish law. I research semua benda ni. I Google, I research everything. I hentam dia. Then he murtad from Jew. He became an atheist balik again. Okay, and 2023, he said that Anwar ni and then and Johor were in on it. And then his story started crumbling. And then I korek and I push, and then he started gelabah, and then dah kantoi dah. Rupa-rupanya, dia don't mind that investor scam trick. Okay, fine. They mind that investor scam trick. That's when I found out he is completely solo. He's been lying the whole time to all his goons. Goons dia pula bodoh, mati-mati ingat kabel besar. Goons dia lagi kurang ajar kurang ajar, hina Islam gila babi. Siap cakap apa? Cakap Allah pun tak boleh kalahkan dia orang. They are so fucking kurang ajar. Tak apa, benda tu nanti lah. Kalau orang nak tahu lagi, banyak benda. Because 18 years, dia duk try force me to murtad lah, sembah dia lah, kata dia Allah lah, anything to get me to murtad. Because he wants me to murtad. Sebab dia tahu, he anyaya me as anak yatim. He use, why dia letak aku dekat OIC tu is because dia, tahu tak yang Britney punya conservatorship punya benda? Kenapa dia adopt me and my, another reason, when after he became PM, he PM in 81, I was born in 1984. He adopted me bulan September ke bila in 84, he brought me here. The reason why is because dia nak halalkan all the shit he did in the 80s. Why? Sebab dia nak pakai undang-undang Islam. Undang-undang Islam kata, anak yatim Islam, you must give them their due, what is due to them. Now, he's the PM. So, because he's PM, he used undang-undang Islam, kata, no, I have two Muslim orphans, so I must give them the best life, education, blah, blah, blah. So, dia nak halalkan his entire thing using Islamic law. That's why dia bawa aku 2003, tak pasal-pasal. My whole life tak pernah-pernah dia buat macam tu. Tiba-tiba dia nak jaja aku depan OIC while dia buat kong hajar bawah underneath the mata satu tu. Which I didn't know at the time. So this was what he was doing. He was using me and my for conservatorship. But my hancur, because my pun masuk politics and everything and my bullshit and everything, but I tak salahkan my. My teruk gila kena dengan dia kot. Sampai my not trauma, my hancur mentally. Rabak. You know, like my nangis-nangis kata, nobody gives, everyone like lying. Time tu, I did not understand what Mai was going through. I didn't understand why Mai was thinking that. But now I know what she was going through. What Mai was going through. But this is how kurang hajar he is. Right? Then 2023, suddenly, tiba-tiba kantoi pasal rumah. There was in 2003 when he resigned, there was this Chinese guy, millionaire ke apa, tiba-tiba beli rumah or had a house dekat Glenmary. Huge, gigantic house, wanted him and the family to stay there. Besar gila babi. But then he didn't want to stay there. He said, never mind, dia nak buat as a storehouse. And he kept that house even when dah PM2. Then towards the end of 2023, when he knew he dah kantoi, all his story dah tak logic, and dah kantoi, tiba-tiba, nak clear out, that house kita guna as store, all the stuff from the old Sri Perdana Jalan Damansara, semua simpan kat situ. And after that from later, so it became a storehouse. Tiba-tiba everything bawa keluar. Kak Ina send for apa nama? Send for donation lah apa semua. So send all the things tiba-tiba. At the time, I tak perasan benda tu. I didn't realise. And then after that, rumah cyber, which I thought was the family house. Okay? Rupa-rupanya, I found out later, shit, tu rumah Syed Mokhtar kot. But the whole time, he was using it. Now, ni kurang ajar. Dia duk tipu Syed Mokhtar kau-kau. I kesian gila lah all the Malay business people, UMNO people. Dia kelentong semua and dia squeeze and dia frame and dia manipulate. Dia kaki putar belit gila sampai diorang don't even know what the hell is happening. They don't realise because dia licik gila. Now, here's the thing I did not understand at the time. He tried to paksa me to stay in that house. This was end of 2023. Dia kata, why don't you stay there? Why? I cakap, no, why? Why should I stay there? Because by that time, I dah rasa pelik dah. Rumah ni is under DRB. Why you want me to stay there? Just stay lah. There's nobody staying there, blah, blah. I said, no, I'm not comfortable. It's not our house. He tried to paksa me banyak kali. I'm staying at the Dusun right now. I said, no, I'm going to stay at the apartment. Family ada apartment. Okay lah, fine. Apartment family punya, okay, fine. Then sampai to the point he tried to switch. He said, okay lah, you stay at the apartment. Tiba-tiba last minute, the Dusun house, I don't know. First, the cyber house, he wants to do Airbnb. I macam, ni bukan rumah Syed Mokhtar. Dah lah, is DRB paying for everything. Lepas tu kenapa pula kau nak buat business? Very important. Why tiba-tiba? Right? Dia duk takut pasal SPRM. Yang aku tak pernah dengar. When SPRM duk kepung and all these things, suddenly dia cakap, suddenly he become poor. Now please, I sebut benda ni, all the business people, UMNO, jangan cuak. Jangan cuak. He seorang kantoi, I know exactly all the punya game dia buat, dia frame orang, dia ugut orang, and how he wants people to back him up, to cover for him, because dia ugut kata, if you don't back him up, you look like you're dirty, you look like you're corrupt, and you'll be investigated, and your life is finished. Jangan layan. He game everyone. He games everyone like that. Even Syed Mota pun dia buat macam tu. Okay, and he tried to force me to stay there even. Suddenly tiba nak buat Airbnb. Oh, I really want you to stay there. Look after the place, there's the staff house. You can stay there. I just got no. Then who's paying for everything? Takkan I'm going to stay. It's not the family house. Takkan DRB is going to pay for me. What for? What do I have to do with DRB and everything? Dah lah, I dah awkward pula tiba-tiba the house transfer to DRB. I dah terperangkap dah. I thought I was doing gardening dekat family house. Anyway, long story short. Then I nak pindah pergi apartment, tiba-tiba dia cakap, oh, I want to rent out that apartment. And the Dusun house, I want to turn it into like nak buat macam glamping, buat ni. Habis tu, where am I going to stay? I stay at the cyber house. Kurang ajar gila weh. He tried to frame me. Dah lah, he's trying to frame Syed Mota. Sekarang ni dia punya game satu je. He wants Syed Mota to cover his ass because dia nak Syed Mota takut. Konon-konon Syed Mota will be investigated. No. Why? Syed Mota tak salah pun. Orang lain tak salah pun. This is how he does shit. He akan cakap macam it's a nice thing. I remember one time when we were staying in the cyber house long time ago. Mummy, daddy, everyone was staying there. There was this guy who was trying to show a car that runs on water. And you tahu macam mana dia ugut orang. Dia akan bagi tahu dia, if the American, the oil companies, find out about this, you can get yourself killed, Then I thought at the time, I didn't think much about it. Then I thought about it later on. Shit, he's been working hand in hand with the American oil and military industrial complex forever. Daripada 60s and 70s onwards. That's why he did Lima and everything, all these things. And Petronas, he's been working with all the Americans. Dia tipu semua orang, weh. Dia tipu everything. In the 80s and 90s, people didn't realize that he was working with the Americans because he controlled all the media. If you tengok towards end of 2000, the end of the early 2000 onwards, baru keluar sikit about Malaysia with the America. And masa tu the war on terror, so Malaysia here was working with the CIA and America to work with this counter-terrorism and all these things. And he was PM at the time, by the way, during 9/11. So he was working hand in hand with the Americans as usual. And remember, he did Vision 2020. Vision 2020 came out 1 year after Israel 2020. Okay? Now, another thing he's going to guna is he's going to say all the politicians are in on it. No. He has been the deep state all along. He ugut all the politicians to follow what he says indirectly. The whole time when he said he resigned dulu and dia kata he's no longer in politics, dia tipu gila babi. Do you know how I know? Because tiba-tiba kat rumah, dia jumpa this politician, dia jumpa this menteri, dia jumpa this sultan, dia jumpa this person. He was business as usual while he went around telling people he's no longer in politics. Kalau nak tahu, I know all his dirty shit. He framed everyone, UMNO, politicians, everyone, sultan semua. And his whole scam, this whole thing that he wanted to do was to scam, kata konon-kononnya dia Imam Mahdi, whatever, and the mata satu is like, because lah, the Islamic world, kalau mata satu tu apa? Dajjal kan? And then he wanted to bullshit and everything. Oh yeah. And this past 18 years, yang I don't argue with him, and he's been doing this harassment, audio harassment, he and his goons cakap apa tau? They're going to take whatever that I hentam him with, or whatever that the things that he gonna edit in and whatnot, and do like tricks and scammer shit and whatnot, and present it to people secretly as if, I found out about this thing and there's a plot against, and listen to this, listen to what he's saying, listen to what. Tak, semua benda tu he took out of context and they edit and nak bullshit. Sumpah demi Allah. That's his scam. So right now, konon-kononnya dia nak ugut semua orang, konon-kononnya he's got dirt on people lah, konon-konon, tak, semua tu semua bullshit. He knows that if no one backs him up, he is mampus. Because if everyone says no to him, he is screwed. He is screwed. And he's got an entire team that wants to set up all these upper cults. Okay, 2023, before 2023, tiba-tiba, when he was with PAS, he tiba-tiba baik dengan PAS. Dah lah, daripada aku kecil, dia duk hina PAS. Duk gelakkan PAS, hina Islam. Pasal mami nak pakai tudung pun dia marah, everything, and all these things. Then, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, tiba-tiba he knew because I hentam dia. I cakap, you think PAS doesn't know all your bullshit ke? Tiba-tiba dia nak baik dengan mami side dekat Medan. Oh my god, aku daripada kecil, every time mami side datang from Medan, dia tak layan, okay, dia akan pandang hina. Dia akan buat muka macam, macam low class orang kampung kind of shit. Tiba-tiba kenapa kau tiba-tiba gambar dia pergi Medan ikut mami punya, mami jumpa family sana. And they're all orang kampung. You know, like very religious semua. Then I figured out why. Macam, he wants to set up a kind of like a religious group where he is the equivalent of Nick Aziz kat sana. Because he knows he can fool them. Sebab PAS kat sini, dia dah tahu, PAS mana boleh dia break in. No way dia boleh break in. So dia nak copy PAS punya formula, tapi dia nak buat kat Indonesia. So time tu lah tiba-tiba, I saw one picture, mami post dulu. Muka dia macam fish out of water. Dia tak tahu nak buat apa. Dia duduk dekat rumah kampung. Dia macam muka blur, tak tahu nak buat apa, you know, surrounded by all these people bersila on the floor. Dia duduk atas kerusi. Lepas tu lately ni dia duduk berya-ya nak pergi Indonesia, jumpa presiden apa semua tu proper. Why? Because he told me he was going to set up all these groups, and one of his goons siap cakap apa tau, they're going to do terrorist bombings, but they're going to set up multiple groups. They're going to set up Christian groups, they're going to set up Hindu groups in India, you know, he's going to set up Christian groups, evangelical groups dekat US, dekat Europe, you know, in Asia, everywhere he wants to do, and they're going to do like huru-hara. And the goons are going to handle all these things. So he's got agents that are going to cabut and go around the world and do this and say that he was framed. That was his plan. Konon-kononnya, if he kantoi kat sini, he's got backup international, kata konon-konon he was framed. So his second thing, after scamming the Malays and the PAS kat sini, he wants to strong arm the Middle East. Now, he's been trying to do that for ages, but I think Middle East semua dah tahu, dia ni baru Amerika daripada dulu. Like, hello, come on, it was the Cold War. Takkanlah diorang tak tahu dia ni side mana. Sah his allies. Sah. Obviously lah, they know his history. Maybe Melayu sini dia boleh tipu, but international dia boleh kelentong ke? Obviously lah, they know. You know what I mean? So this was the shit that he was planning. And in 2023, he already knew towards the end that he was completely screwed. Right? Tiba-tiba, he start to frame this with Syed Mota and whatnot. Then 2024, that's when I found out about this whole fucking shit. Semua benda dia tipu about in the past yang konon-konon everyone was in on it and whatnot. Sampailah ke sekarang. Then he tried to ugut me recently. Nak lesapkan me because I started posting on Facebook again. Slowly, but this time I post cryptically. And masa bulan puasa, tiba-tiba, I remember the last day ke first day, tiba-tiba family start acting weird. Before this, they knew already, but kesian the family, kena ugut by him. They knew about this, but instantly, diorang tukar perangai. Right? I think diorang takut. He does this tau. He ugut everyone. If you don't cover for me, I'll bring you down and I'll say that you're corrupt and whatnot. But people don't realize, he frames people. So, do not, sama macam batu putih. Dia paksa orang, ugut orang, lepas tu kalau dia kantoi, why did you do it? Jangan percaya. Because why? Because he ugut people. Even with me, berapa banyak kali death threats. Berapa banyak kali dia ugut nak bunuh me. This past 2 years, berapa banyak kali. Belum kira the past 18 years. So now you know, dia punya entire shit. This Israel 2020 barua, you know, shit and whatnot. And people, please, tak payah nak kecoh-kecoh, tak payah nak konon-konon nak huru-hara, whatever. This is exactly what Mahathir nak. This is what he wants. He wants instability to cover. I even told him sekali, I cakap, I want to warn PAS about this. Right? I cakap, and dia cakap apa tau? If I tell Hadi Awang, because mula-mula I was thinking of telling Hadi Awang. I was thinking of telling him, and then dia cakap, if you go to PAS, I will tell Anwar and Johor. Because he ingat he's trying to frame Johor as well. Dia kata apa tau? Dia kata pasal all this pedo trying to frame me, dia nak kata it was Johor that did it. And then this thing, I cakap, okay, I'm going to tell PAS, like screw you, I'm going to tell PAS about your plot. Lepas tu dia cakap, well, if you tell PAS about this, I will tell Anwar and Johor that you are up to no good and you have a coup plot and you want PAS to take down the government. And I said, fuck, I'm going to tell Anwar and Johor about it. Because this daripada before lah. If I tell Anwar, he's going to tell PAS that this is Anwar and Johor punya plot. So that was his game. This is how Mahathir does stuff. Dia tipu both sides, dia play the middleman. This is called bomoh kampung rutin. Faham? Faham tak dia punya plot? Kalau aku bagi tahu PAS, dia bagi tahu Anwar dengan Johor, PAS nak buat kuplot. Kalau aku bagi tahu Anwar and the sultans that he's trying to frame Anwar and the sultans, he's going to tell PAS that this is Anwar and Johor punya plot. He literally said he's going to take down all the sultans and everyone if he doesn't win. And he's going to do huru hara and he's going to get this. And then I noticed recently dia duk kelang kabut gila babi. Okay, I noticed this past few days. He came out, I call it the begging tour. Tiba-tiba dia cakap, Anwar first dia cakap, Anwar tak tahu geopolitics about China, about how have to be neutral, about economy west with America or whatever. Because why? He wants people to think that America back him up. So everyone think, oh shit, Tun is still being backed by the CIA, by the US. So dia nak play game macam tu. Sekarang ni dia tengah panic mode. Okay? And then suddenly, he talks about what was the other one? I can't remember. I forgot. He was playing both sides. Oh yeah, and then suddenly keluar article about how Putin used to come over to the mines and meet him. Kenapa Putin? Because now dia nak kata dia gang dengan China and Russia. Sebab Russia dengan China kamceng. Nampak tak? He's doing the same scam yang dia pakai yang when I said I wanted to tell PAS or ni, he's using the same. So he wants to scare all the politicians and everyone thinking that he's got major backing. He doesn't have it. That's why he's doing this, right? That's why he's doing this. Tiba-tiba dia keluar statement newspaper, he regrets antagonizing Anwar. Bullshit. He's preparing so that benda ni keluar, dia nak kata konon-konon, dia menyesal antagonize Anwar sebab Anwar buat benda ni. And Anwar yang kantoikan dia. Bullshit. He kantoi himself. He tried to frame everyone. Semua benda ni dia kantoi gila. He's panic mode right now. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, even like the kids and I find out, rupa-rupanya, they know about the family, tapi dia nak frame Johor, right? And ingat all these things, right? I mean, even like I said, family Kedah, please do not believe his shit. He buat kurang ajar gila dengan Mak Teh. I know, because I was there. Mak Teh menyampah dengan dia kot. Mak Teh and me sama perangai. Mak Teh knew, because Mak Teh saw her muka masam. But she knew, because she knew I was dealing with Mai sama macam dia deal dengan daddy. Mai is her daddy. Not her daddy. Daddy, what Mai is to me was, I don't want to blame Mai lah, but that sort of perangai. Mai was to me what he was to Mak Teh. So I know, and Mak Teh knew that I knew. So please, he's been lying to all of you. Dah lah, dia dah murtad lama gila. Now, lepas ni, he's going to try and bullshit and say, imagine how I feel, imagine. Or he's going to play the old man routine. He will either buat konon nyanyuk, konon tak ingat, konon kesian dia, semua bullshit. All of that is bullshit. He used to go, when we used to go out makan on the weekends, he will purposely pilih tempat yang paling crowded. Wah, kereta kat escalator bawah ni je. Dia sengaja pergi around, tiba-tiba pasang topeng. He'll put on a mask. Tiba-tiba dia buat-buat macam, innocent, macam he was just walking by. Wah, dia sengaja je. And then he does that because he is a narcissist. Oh my God, dia teruk gila babi, okay? It's like so much, I've got so much. See my other videos. You'll know about all these things. What else, did I forget? Pasal Soros tu, I mentioned already. He keeps reinventing himself. Apa dia lagi, he hina my birth mother. He hina my birth mother before. He hina my genetics. I think I mentioned that already. Yang Christmas daripada kita orang kecil. Yeah, that one I think I dah mentioned already. And then yang baru-baru ni kan, Ellie, and then people kecoh about her ni and whatnot. But never mind about that. Don't blame macam ni you cannot blame the family or anyone when the person yang kepala is the one yang paksa benda ni semua. And kita orang, to be honest, it's like, okay, for me, like, okay, cara dia buat is salah. Because he just okays anything. Me, I follow the Islamic punya style of international Islam. Daripada zaman dulu, from the golden age of Islam, as they say, very diplomatic, very this. So that's my perspective on things. But never mind. Benda tu semua I can get in later on. The trauma, I already mentioned, he used it to break my character, but it didn't work. Because even when I was trauma, I still maintain my character yang I have to do the right thing, I have to be good, I have to, right? And all these things. I think I covered everything already. So, sorry lah benda ni panjang. I'm sure there's so much more stuff yang during this past 18 years, I tak ingat apa benda don't happen. But maybe later on I will come out benda ni. Or, maybe when benda ni kecoh or whatever, people will know. To everyone, all the politicians, all the business people, all the sultans, everyone, do not buy into it and just keep relax, chill. This is his whole plot. This is what he's been doing for ages. And jangan takut. Kalau dia ugut kata SPRM will come after you, whatever, think about it. You chill. You kena set up, you kena frame, you kena paksa. I know all these things. Tak percaya, ask me. Ask me jadi witness. And I will bagi tahu, daripada I kecil, I tengok how he treats all the uncles. I panggil uncles and aunties, me and my. How he treats all of you, yang cabinet, yang business people. I know how he treats you all, how he strong arms you all, and then he pretends to be the innocent guy. And then he frames you, and then you all kena paksa, kena follow what he says. And then they kata, now I've got you, haha, you look bad. Now if they investigate you, you'll be screwed. Don't worry. I know all his shit. I kenal dia daripada kecil. I know all his tells. I know all his body language, and I know all his shit. So chill. Everyone just relax and sedar that Mahathir, the murtad, has been scamming everyone. He literally is the bomo kampung. Tapi kampung dia besar sikit lah. It's the whole place. Banyak benda ada tipu, banyak gila benda dia tipu. Right? So anyway, I'm going to end this here for now. Oh lupa tadi nak mention yang pasal budak-budak tu semua that he tried to frame me with. Dia try frame me masa sekolah, tak menjadi. And then later on when he tried to frame me masa trauma tu, he used kids that don't look like their kids. Semua look like they're adults and dress up like adults. This is one of the things that he did. Because he knew, dia tahu that nothing worked. Because he's been trying since I was 12 years old pasal benda ni. He's been trying. And these kids, sampai ke hari ni, I'm still close with them. As in, tak ada hal anything. Like even all the kids yang he tried to use to frame it, sampai ke hari ni, they still like keep in touch with me, from time to time. Yeah. Even yang budak yang masa I was in KYS tu pun, like later on, he invited me go to his wedding, and he from time to time he'll contact me, like say hi, but then he'll disappear. Like dia macam chip semua sekejap. And I didn't know why he keeps doing that at the time, and I didn't understand. But anyway, budak-budak ni, I have all the things like sampai ke sekarang, like we're all okay and chill and everything, right? And so me and them memang tak ada apa-apa because they all know I'm innocent. They all know that. I guess I'm not sure if they know that their job was to frame me, but maybe some of them knew or whatever, were told something else ke apa ke. But sampai ke sekarang, even invite me pergi go, masa their wedding and all these things. So just to update on that, lupa pula nak bagi tahu that part. So kita orang still bros. We're still bros. So macam tu lah. It's macam-macam lah. Kalau nak cerita pasal goons, dia punya goons yang duk harass me lagi, macam-macam cerita. Bragging about they sexually assault me. How he sexually assault is verbal sexual assault. So tak nak, because I can't switch off the thing. I have to hear it. So they do stuff like that. Even macam-macam lah. ugut nak apa, no one can stop them lah, you know, this is, I remember one of the punya goons cakap, apa nama, it's the perfect crime because it leaves no evidence. Lepas tu gelak-gelakkan me, and kurang ajar gila babi this one time he said that that if they're going to use that weapon on all, because I said, I was fighting, I said we were bros and everything, and that whoever that I sayang, they'll use this weapon against them and ugut them and whatnot. So here's another thing, like he already threatened, said that either he's going to ugut them or pay people or whatever, I don't know, right? But the thing is like, if this thing is kept hidden, memang dia boleh move here, move there, do this, do that, right? So this thing has to be out in the open baru dia tak boleh gerak apa-apa, because then kantoi habis But literally, he literally ugut hari tu, like I said, I'm going to tell the truth, and, they're going to tell the truth. They kata, then they're going to ugut, because they have kids now, they can ugut the kids, ugut them using their kids and all these things, But, hey, they're dah besar, they're no longer kids, they have kids themselves. So all this stuff that, he's been doing and whatnot. Tapi is like so bloody kurang ajar. But just to update on that, like kita orang, like even yang gaduh tu pun, even until, like until today and whatnot, like, and the others, like until today, still keep in touch. And we're still on good terms and everything. In fact, I remember one of the kids that, he tried to use to frame me, even minta maaf at one point. He just apologized to me for lying to me. Sebab dia buat macam tu, kurang ajar gila. He tried to force it on me, tak jadi. So he orchestrated for kids that look like they are older and then present themselves like they're adults, and then dress up macam adult and everything. Lepas tu later on I find out, pula. So this is his MO lah. You can ingat, that's his favorite MO, sex scandals. So he knows that me being gay, dah lah, the soya thing, sas gila lah kan. I think he was like trying to manufacture. He knows that the gay thing is not enough. So, he wants something even more scandalous. Because he needs people to believe his scam. Right? So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that kita orang still bros. We're still bros. And I'm sure they consider me bros. Like we, text, from time to time, and, meet up from time to time. Say hi and things like that. So, yeah. But he bloody kurang ajar weh, pakai budak-budak. Anyway, yeah. Oh, one more thing. Just nak mention, but I forgot about this thing. This is to everyone. He wants people to believe yang konon-konon this is a Western plot. Actually tak. Benda ni is his thing. This is dia punya vanity project. He's been planning it. Maybe in the 80s or whatever, he promised the Americans that, he's going to do something to this, that, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. But the whole entire thing, bila fikir balik, I thought about it and everything, got nothing to do with anyone. Sebenarnya benda ni just dia punya plot. And he did mention once before that dia punya, one of the reasons he's doing this is because he wants to be remembered forever. So he wants to scam the whole Islamic world. The whole Islamic world into thinking he's like some Islamic hero. Wahal dia murtad. So dia bullshit. So for anyone who thinks that, we've got to cover up for him because otherwise the Americans or whoever or the British or whoever will be angry. No. None of them. This is dia punya plan. He's just doing his usual shit. He's just using his usual shit. He is so delusional sampai dia last dia fikir dia macam his final scam is to scam the whole Islamic world and be remembered forever as the best Muslim leader. You tahu lah dia macam mana kan. Benda ni is just his delusional stuff. So yeah, I mean tak payah percaya. He's using the West and Gang Mata Satu and whatnot just to scare people into doing his bidding. He actually tak ada apa-apa. He tahu he tak ada apa-apa and he knows he's screwed. So nobody needs to worry about anything ke, instability ke apa ke, tak payah. Dia duk tipu je. Itu je. And pasal yang mata satu ni, tak payah kecoh lah. Benda ni senang je nak settle. Just change the logos. Dah, habis cerita. Benda tak complicated pun. He wants it to be complicated because he wants huru-hara. He thrives on this. He thrives on huru-hara, kecoh and everything. That's the time yang dia swoop in and cut deals with this person, that person. If we don't do this, this will happen. If we don't do that. Tak ada. He's completely alone. He's solo. So ingat benda ni. Tak payah takut pasal semua benda tu. Dia proper je lebih. He does that because he kiss ass to the West to the max. I've got so much stuff about this and so much stuff about apa yang dia buat the past 18 years. InsyaAllah kalau sempat I will do another recording all about all those things. In the meantime, tak payah nak kecoh. And kalau nak kata West jahat apa semua, no, he's just pitting everyone against each other so he looks good. Itu je. Benda ni tak ada kaitan dengan siapa-siapa kecuali dia. Itu I figured out and dia dah kantoi dah. Well, behind the scenes here lah, dia harass me and everything. Like I know already all his game. Semua benda tu semua tipu. Okay, one more thing I terlupa nak bagi tahu. Dia sorry, banyak benda dia lupa nak bagi tahu. Cause banyak benda nak kena ingat balik. Ingat he's trying to scam the Islamic world and he is an atheist. I know that for a fact. Dia tipu semua orang gila babi. Is one time because even though aku gay ke apa ke, but I still believe in Allah sampai sanggup I send myself to hell. But tu pun looks like I kena reject in a sense. But God knows I tried. He used to ejek me masa dia ingat yang dia takkan kantoi lah. He used to ejek me. Dia kata, nama dia Maha. Mahathir, by the way, is a Sanskrit name. Dia belagak. Dia kata nama dia Maha sama macam Allah. Dia, Allah is like Maha kaya, Maha itu, Maha ini kan. Dia kata nama dia pun Maha. So dia kata dia Allah. Sama macam Allah. This is what he bragged to me to my, not to my face, while he's harassing me. He will do sometimes bila dia harass mami suruh balik for dinner or whatever, dia sambung dekat situ. Tapi awal-awal dia gaslight, pandai dia cover. Lama-lama dia rasa confident, lagi dia confident depan muka aku dia buat kurang hajar and everything. Like I said my 40th birthday he sang all that things. But this is literally what he said. Dia poyo gila and dia hina Allah. Dia kata nama dia Maha, dia sama macam Allah. Dia cakap. And oh my God, kalau nak cerita benda ni banyak gila benda kot. So much stuff syirik dia cakap and buat, and goons dia cakap and buat, and macam-macam lah. Gila. Hina Gaza, hina Gazan kids dengan goons dia apa semua. Lepas tu brag gonna do shit to them lah, apalah itulah, teruk gila. But anyway, that is seriously who he is. He literally belagak. Dia kata nama dia Maha sama macam Allah. Oh ya, kalau dia nak putar belit cerita, konon-kononnya dia nak expose mata satu ke apa benda, dia nak putar belit apa, jangan percaya. I bet you they got nothing to do with it. Confirm Diorang, like, I don't know what the deal lah diorang ni semua. But he's just purposely playing on the Muslim world punya idea that somehow, that mata satu is bad and whatnot. Because in the West, they have this thing. But to them, it's a completely different meaning, benda tu. So jangan percaya. It's got nothing to do with anyone kecuali dia. He just wants to look like macam, he exposed this or that, whatever bullshit semua tu. Benda ni dia solo and then korang because of this he exposed it. Tak ada lah. Dah tahu dah. It got nothing to do with that. People might think that it's a conspiracy ni, must be them apa semua. Tak ada. Benda tu bullshit je semua benda tu. Like I know he lies about all this thing. He purposely nak tunjuk konon-konon first of all, he puts that up because he knows that in the West, like macam that's considered like a symbol of macam prestige and whatnot and blah blah blah. So he uses that to ni get macam macam support lah, nak dapat support because he kiss ass. Even before that pun dengan Reagan pun sama juga, dia kiss ass dengan British. All the way he's been doing that daripada dulu, working for ni. So now he just wants to put the issue. Why? I think one of the reason because dia fikir macam kalau benda ni kecoh bawa mata satu, the whole world will be instability, the Muslims will this. Tak ada, benda tu bullshit. It's got nothing to do with anyone kecuali dia. Dia seorang je. And ingat kalau dia nak judge konon-konon that's Dajjal ke apa, tak. Dajjal mata satu is a single guy. Right? Is a guy. right? And he's this guy that literally he's been bullshitting everyone. Lepas tu duk set up everyone konon look bad and whatnot. Jangan percaya dia. He wants that and he wants people to think, oh, this is this, that. Dia nak buat huru hara satu dunia. Konon-konon. Tak payah percaya. I know because I've been listening to all him bragging about all sorts of stuff and whatnot. Dia main that game. He plays that game and then he wants like, oh, but then because of this expose. Tak ada expose bendanya. Dia tipu je. Benda tu tak ada kaitan dengan anyone other than dia. Dia saja je. Believe me, I know the whole story. Tak payah nak macam, oh ni, this, oh mata satu, West is Dajjal or whatever. No. This is the guy, Dajjal in Arabic means deceiver. Deceiver tu apa? Kaki kelentong. Siapa dekat sini duk guna mata satu as logo dia, duk senyap-senyap, letak situ, letak sini. Lepas tu nak scam the Muslim world, lepas tu secretly kafir, murtad, Mahathir. Yang bangga sangat nama dia Maha, sama macam Allah. Do not fall for that. Do not believe all that stuff. I dah tahu dah. Sebab dia dah ugut me with that dah lama dah. Konon-konon. And then bila I korek lagi, I find out rupa-rupanya dia bullshit. Dia bullshit semua benda tu. He just purposely wants the Islamic world to think that he is like some hero. Tak ada. I guarantee you. Tengoklah balik dia punya history. Dia akan main apa tau? Dia akan main putar belit. Konon-konon dia double agent. He already even told me. He brag, kata, he's just gonna switch sides. Sebab dia memang macam tu. Dia sekejap dia muka macam ni, sekejap macam tu. Sekejap macam ni, sekejap macam tu. But the proof is in the pudding. Tengok live dia. Tengok cara dia buat benda semua. Tengok semua dia punya kelentong. Now that is called Dajjal. And that, dia, sorry lah. I don't know what to say lah. Itu memang trademark dia lah. Dia pergi letak mata satu sini, situ, lepas tu dia frame orang ni, frame orang tu, frame sana, frame situ, frame sini. Wah, tak ada. One time man, he even cakap apa tau. He tried to bullshit the Saudis. Tried to strong arm the Saudis. Konon-konon, tried to say the Saudis are working with him lah, itulah pro-US lah, apa semua. Tak ada. I dah kantoikan his whole story. I dah figure out his whole thing. In fact, I dah bagi tahu dah. I already dah tahu dah. No. Dunia Islam, no need to fall for all these bodoh tricks. I think they know how the real politics works. Real politics works in the world. I mean, how things actually move in the world. Benda tu, mata satu tu semua mengarut. All that shit is mengarut. Right? He just fucking letak dekat situ because dia tahu that he can use that as macam chip untuk main middleman. Actually, jangan percaya. He's been doing that for ages. That's how he scam Melayu. That's how he scam PAS. That's how he scam everyone. He's been using the same trick. Dia saja je. Wah, dia yang scam, wants to scam the Islamic world. Melayu, for the Malays, tolong remember, dia selalu suka ejek, and I figure out benda ni memang ejek. Dia suka ejek dengan hina Melayu. Melayu mudah lupa. Sebenarnya dia tengah hina Melayu. Tolong jangan lupa, tolong jangan buat huru hara. Kalau tak ingat apa-apa, dengar balik benda ni and write it down. Tulis semua point-point ni so korang ingat. Because I tahu benda ni panjang. Ada banyak gila benda. Dia sekarang ni, dia dengan goons dia memang harapkan orang tak ingat. Dia akan putar balik cerita so orang tak ingat. Konon-konon ni lah, konon-konon tu lah, konon-konon ni. Senang je. Kalau korang download benda ni, put out, tulis satu-satu, satu persatu, point-point dia apa semua. So, kalau dia nak putar balik cerita, dia nak kelentong, whatever, dia nak deceive, you will remember all the points. And boleh check semua benda ni. Sebab I'm sure ramai gila orang tahu, yang mana in politics, siapa yang tahu all these things. Dia memang nak kelentong semua orang. The whole world. Nak tahu senang je. Dengar balik everything. I know, benda ni panjang, 2 jam lebih rasanya. Tapi terpaksa lah kan, sebab memang benda panjang. Daripada I kecil and daripada dia start politics and everything. Jangan percaya dia punya stuff. Dengar balik benda ni, suruh someone dengar balik, pause, tulis semua my points. Yang pasal dia punya politics, dia punya itu, dia punya ni, apa semua. Sebab dia memang akan kelentong. Dia tipu gila semua banyak benda. Write it down, tulis semua benda ni. So korang ingat. Sebab dia suka pelekehkan Melayu, Melayu mudah lupa. So this time, tunjuk dia. Melayu tak mudah lupa. Write it down. Kalau dia nak putar belit, dia nak apa, kau dah ada point dah. Tapi asal kau buat macam ni dulu? Asal kau cakap macam ni dulu? Kenapa dulu kau buat macam ni? Buat macam tu je. Dan dia tak boleh lari. Ingat dia bomoh kampung. Dia kaki kelentong. Now, untuk the Chinese and the Indians pula, tak payah layan dia. I tell you one thing dia ni, this is, I can tell you, daripada kecil. I noticed this, but at the time I didn't understand. Sebab, I thought, orang sangka baik kan. I thought he was just like joking around ke apa. Dia ada satu this perangai dia bila dengan Melayu, dia akan talk shit about the Chinese and Indians. Right? But bila dia dengan Chinese and Indians, dia akan talk shit about the Malays. Dia memang macam tu. And I've seen this dah banyak kali dah. Bila dengan the Chinese or Indians yang of course atas-atas lah. Sebab social circle dia kalau kau bawah-bawah, time election je dia peduli. Rest of the time dia hang out semua. Kau tak ada billion, tak ada million, kau senyap je lah kan. Tunggu next election, dia bagi kau dedak, baru okay. But dia memang macam tu. Bila dia dengan Chinese, Indian, dia akan talk shit about the Malays. Bila dia dengan Malays, dia talk shit about the Chinese and Indians. Right? Dia memang buat macam tu. Satu benda yang I perasan very obvious is when I look back cara dia dengan Chinese, Indians or Mak Saleh or whatever, anyone else, is exactly the same bila dia dengan family. Okay? Dia bila dengan family, memang dia punya character and everything konti. Dengan family, dengan Chinese, dengan Indians, kira non-Malays lah, non-Muslims, non-Malays, perangai dia konti. Because I notice this thing. Bila with family, with non-Malays, perangai dia exactly like that. No difference. Bila dia jumpa Malays, tiba-tiba, ada topeng. Suddenly he change dia punya gait, tukar cara dia cakap, everything. Tiba-tiba dia pasang topeng. So just to let you all know, he's been gaming everyone. And then as for everyone else lah, kau nak kata, benda ni nanti akan menakutkan investor lah, all these things. No. Tak. Kalau kau, if you are like Mat Saleh or whatever lah, people, this got nothing to do with you. This is just a man who's trying to scam the whole world and pit everyone against each other and hoping that they'll come out on top. Itu je. It's nothing much. It's just that. He just wants to pit people against each other. It's got nothing to do with anyone other than him. This is what he's always been doing. And serious I've seen him, how he talks about the Malays to the Chinese and Indians. Memang dia kurang ajar lah. But Indians not so much lah. Sebab I think, Indians yang kaya-kaya okay lah. Dia okay everything. But yang bawah-bawah, I think he doesn't view, you Indians like anything, so he doesn't give too much attention to that. But he still, perangai dia macam tu. And I know this sebab dah banyak kali dah. And this serious, tak tipu. Bila dengan family, bila dengan other races other than Malays, konti. Masuk je dekat Malays, topeng dah turun, everything changes. I guarantee you that I've seen this since I was a kid, but I never faham at the time sebab yelah, time tu macam mana nak put two and two together and I just thought it was just weird. Like macam, okay. I thought at the time maybe like, I malah nak masuk campur kan, sebab I don't know, apa niat dia or whatever, but then now I know lah. He just talks shit about everyone behind everyone punya back. And then he comes out on top. This is what he does. Bomoh kampung rutin. He memang deceive everyone. Nak bagi contoh bagi contoh, for example, kalau with the Malays, I think Malays dah tahulah all the stuff he talks about Chinese dengan Indian. And I remember one time, I can't remember what year it was, he tried to say, the Chinese are like dirty, disgusting and all that thing, and then gelak, nak kata superior. Tapi pelik, engkau suka yang, Chinese ada duit. Lepas tu, when you're with the Chinese, tak ada pula, you want to mention this stuff. Bila dia dengan Chinese, dia akan cakap the Malay bodoh, malas, macam kampung, leke, cikai, like that lah. Tak adalah dia pakai perkataan cikai, but dia leke-leke macam tu lah kan. He does that. And then for Indian, the one that I remember yang very clear is because dia nak hina genetic Pakistan. So dia kata, that means I have some Indian genetic, which to me is like whatever lah kan. Like, you know, who cares? Dia cakap, genetic bodoh. Dia kata, India bodoh, inferior. That's literally what he said. But sorry I am not a racist. Nak tak nak, I believe in Allah, I believe in Islam. That in Islam, there is no racism. Tak ada racism. Because Islam is one of those agama that is like accepts all people. You have Muslims from all races, satu dunia. So in Islam, racism is actually not allowed. You know, racism is not a good thing. But that's the thing lah. This, you know, he likes to use this to cucuk orang, cucuk ini, cucuk tu. You know, so he keeps doing this thing. It's his whole political career, right? But this is the things dia cakap. Kalau dengan Malays, for example, dia bagi tahu, China disgusting, kotor, you know, macam jijik and all these things. India, genetic loser. You know, lepas tu bila cakap dengan Chinese, dengan Indian pasal Malay, bodoh, loser, malas. You know what? Bukan malas apa. I know a lot. I work with B40 people and I work with Malay bawah. Like the people I know dekat sekolah and everywhere, it's like people from all walks of life. In fact, staff daripada I kecil all come from kampung. I respect because I tak nampak all that stuff. Tapi dia pilih bulu. Dia kalau kau bukan atas, bukan millionaire, billionaire, gi jalan. You know? If you bawah, dia pijak, dia bullshit. Dia pakai topeng dia. I know that for a fact. So, this is just to let you all know. Dia punya, how they don't deceive everyone. And bullshit everyone. And dok tikam belakang everyone. Baru kau tahu dia punya muka macam mana. That's why I cakap, dia bomoh kampung.